They called it the Devil's Triangle, a place where ships vanish without sending distress signals, where planes disappear from radar screens in perfect weather, where experienced pilots report compasses spinning wildly before their aircraft are swallowed by empty sky. For over a century, this stretch of ocean between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico has claimed vessels, aircraft, and lives in ways that defy every rational explanation. But here's what they don't want you to know. The disappearances aren't random. They're not accidents. And the pattern behind them is far more terrifying than anyone has dared to admit publicly. Welcome to the most comprehensive investigation ever conducted into the Bermuda Triangle. I'm about to show you evidence that will fundamentally change how you see this mysterious region. We're going to examine classified military reports that were buried for decades, explore scientific theories that challenge everything we thought we knew about physics, and reveal testimonies from survivors who lived to tell impossible stories. Over the past 6 months, I've traveled to 3 countries, interviewed former Navy personnel who were sworn to secrecy, and gained access to archives that most researchers never even knew existed. What I discovered will disturb you, because the truth about the Bermuda Triangle isn't just about missing ships and planes. It's about something far more sinister lurking beneath those deceptively calm waters. By the end of this investigation, you'll understand why the military has spent billions trying to understand this region, why certain flight paths are still restricted today, and why some of the world's most advanced technology fails in ways that should be impossible. But most importantly, you'll learn why the disappearances are accelerating and what that means for anyone who dares to cross these cursed waters. The first thing you need to understand is that everything you think you know about the Bermuda Triangle is wrong. The mainstream explanations, the debunking articles, the rational scientific dismissals, they're all missing the most crucial piece of evidence. And that evidence has been sitting in plain sight for over 70 years. December 5th, 1945. Flight 19, a routine training mission consisting of 5 Navy torpedo bombers, takes off from Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station. 14 experienced airmen aboard 5 aircraft, flying a simple navigation exercise they'd completed hundreds of times before. The weather was clear, visibility perfect, equipment functioning normally. What happened next should have been impossible. At 3:45 p.m., Lieutenant Charles Taylor, the flight leader, radioed the control tower with a message that still sends chills through aviation experts today. "We are entering white water. Nothing seems right. We don't know where we are. The water is green, no white." Then more disturbing, everything is wrong. Even the ocean doesn't look as it should. Now, here's what they don't tell you in the official reports. Taylor wasn't just confused about his location. According to recently declassified communications, he reported that his compass was spinning freely, that all navigation instruments had failed simultaneously, and that the ocean itself appeared to be glowing beneath them. But the most chilling detail, in the final transmission, barely audible through heavy static, Taylor's voice changed. Flight controllers described it as hollow, distant, as if he was speaking from very far away. His last words, "Don't come after us. They look like they're from outer space." The rescue plane sent to find Flight 19 vanished 13 minutes after takeoff. No wreckage, no distress signal, no trace. The official Navy investigation concluded that the flight became lost due to Taylor's confusion and ran out of fuel. Case closed. But here's what the investigation didn't include. Testimony from 3 separate radar operators who tracked Flight 19 for 27 minutes after they should have crashed into the ocean. The aircraft were moving at speeds that exceeded their maximum capability, in flight patterns that defied the laws of aerodynamics. This isn't speculation. These are documented radar readings from multiple military installations, readings that were immediately classified and remained buried for decades. I've seen the original documents, the signatures of officers who swore to never speak of what they witnessed that day, and Flight 19 was just the beginning. Between 1945 and 1965, over 40 aircraft and 60 ships vanished in the Bermuda Triangle, under circumstances that military investigators couldn't explain. But here's the pattern nobody talks about. Every disappearance occurred during specific atmospheric conditions, when electromagnetic readings in the region spiked beyond normal parameters. The USS Cyclops, a massive naval cargo ship, disappeared in March 1918 while carrying a full load of manganese ore. The ship was built to withstand the worst storms, commanded by an experienced captain, equipped with radio communication that had a range of several hundred miles. Yet it vanished completely between Barbados and Baltimore, never sending a single distress call. What makes this disappearance truly unsettling isn't just the lack of wreckage, it's what happened to the Cyclops' sister ships. The USS Proteus and USS Nereus, identical vessels following similar routes, both vanished in the same region within 2 years of each other. 3 identical ships, 3 mysterious disappearances, 0 explanations. The Navy's response? They declared all 3 losses due to structural failure and rough seas. But internal documents tell a different story. Sonar operators reported massive underwater disturbances in the area where each ship was last seen. Disturbances that moved in organized patterns, suggesting intelligence rather than natural phenomena. Then there's the case of the SS Marine Sulphur Queen, a tanker that vanished in February 1963. The Coast Guard found a few life preservers and some debris, but here's what they didn't find: any evidence of explosion, fire, or structural failure. What they did find, buried in the official report and never released to the public, were witness accounts from other vessels in the area. Multiple ships reported seeing unusual lights beneath the water's surface on the night the Marine Sulphur Queen disappeared. Lights that moved in geometric patterns, pulsing with colors that don't occur naturally in ocean phosphorescence. One captain described it as a city of lights beneath the waves, as if something massive was illuminated down there. But perhaps the most disturbing case involves commercial aviation. National Airlines Flight 727, November 1972, Miami to New York. The aircraft disappeared from radar for exactly 10 minutes while flying through clear skies over the Bermuda Triangle. When it reappeared, confusion erupted in air traffic control. The flight had somehow traveled 150 miles further than should have been possible in 10 minutes. Every passenger's watch had stopped at the exact same time. The pilot reported that they had experienced no turbulence, no unusual weather, no mechanical problems. To them, the flight had been completely normal. But the most unnerving detail: when the aircraft landed and passengers disembarked, ground crew noticed something impossible. The plane's exterior showed signs of extreme age acceleration. Paint was faded. Metal showed oxidation patterns consistent with decades of exposure, and rubber seals had deteriorated as if the aircraft had been sitting in a desert for years rather than flying for hours. The airline immediately grounded the aircraft and launched an internal investigation. The results were classified, the plane was quietly retired, and every crew member was transferred to different routes. The official explanation: equipment malfunction caused temporary radar loss. These aren't isolated incidents. They're part of a pattern that spans over a century, a pattern that becomes more disturbing the deeper you dig. Because the technology that fails in the Bermuda Triangle doesn't just malfunction randomly. It fails in specific ways that suggest interference from something that understands how our instruments work. Compasses don't just point in wrong directions. They spin in precise geometric patterns. Radio equipment doesn't just lose signal. It receives transmissions in languages that linguistics experts can't identify. GPS systems don't just lose satellite connection. They display coordinates for locations that don't exist on any map, and the disappearances are increasing. In the past decade alone, over 30 vessels and aircraft have vanished in the Bermuda Triangle. The Coast Guard attributes most of these to human error, mechanical failure, or severe weather. But their own internal reports paint a very different picture. Reports that document electromagnetic anomalies occurring before each disappearance. Reports that describe rescue teams finding impossible things in the search areas. Empty life rafts floating in perfect condition, as if their occupants had simply vanished mid-rescue. Aircraft debris that shows no signs of impact damage but appears to have been precisely cut apart. Personal belongings from missing passengers that surface years later in locations thousands of miles away, showing no signs of water damage despite being lost at sea. But here's what makes all of this truly terrifying. We're not just dealing with random disappearances anymore. Recent analysis of satellite data reveals that the electromagnetic anomalies in the Bermuda Triangle are growing stronger, more frequent, and more organized. Whatever is causing these phenomena isn't diminishing with time. It's learning. The military knows this. Deep within classified research programs, teams of scientists have been studying the Bermuda Triangle for decades, not to debunk the mystery, but to understand it, because they've realized something that chills them to their core. The disappearances aren't the real threat. The real threat is what's causing them, and it's getting stronger. In the next part of this investigation, we're going to explore the classified military research that's been conducted in the Bermuda Triangle, research that reveals technology decades ahead of anything publicly acknowledged. We'll examine the testimony of naval personnel who encountered something in those waters that changed their understanding of reality itself. We'll also investigate the scientific theories that could explain these phenomena, theories involving parallel dimensions, time distortions, and electromagnetic forces that could reshape our understanding of physics. But most importantly, we'll reveal evidence that suggests whatever is happening in the Bermuda Triangle isn't natural. It's intelligent, it's purposeful, and it's been watching us for far longer than we've been watching it. But before we dive into the classified research that will shake your understanding of reality, I need to tell you about the survivors. Because while most people who enter the Bermuda Triangle and experience its phenomena never return to tell their story, a few do make it back. And what they describe is far more disturbing than simple equipment failure or getting lost at sea. Meet Captain Bruce Jernan, an experienced pilot who on December 4th, 1970, encountered something in the Bermuda Triangle that shouldn't exist according to our understanding of physics. Jernan was flying his Beechcraft Bonanza from Andros Island to Palm Beach when he noticed a strange cloud formation ahead. Not unusual for the region, except this cloud was perfectly circular and appeared to be rotating. Against his better judgment, Jernan flew directly into what he describes as a tunnel-shaped cloud. Inside, his instruments went haywire. The compass spun wildly, the automatic direction finder swung back and forth, and his electronic navigation equipment displayed readings that made no sense. But here's where his account becomes truly unsettling. Jernan reported that time seemed to slow down inside the cloud. His watch, which had been keeping perfect time, began running slow. The flight, which should have taken 75 minutes, was completed in just 47 minutes. When he landed in Palm Beach, ground control was confused. According to their radar, his aircraft had simply vanished for 28 minutes, then reappeared much closer to the destination than should have been possible. But the most chilling part of Jernan's testimony: inside that cloud tunnel, he saw what he describes as electronic fog that seemed to be alive. It moved with purpose, responding to his aircraft's movements, almost as if it was studying him. And when he finally emerged from the phenomenon, he noticed something that still haunts him today. His fuel consumption was far less than it should have been, as if the laws of physics had been temporarily suspended. Jernan isn't alone. Dr. Kenneth McCall, a British psychiatrist and researcher, documented over 40 similar cases between 1960 and 1980. Survivors who described entering strange weather formations that seemed to exist in their own pocket of reality. People who reported time distortions, impossible navigation readings, and encounters with phenomena that challenged everything they thought they knew about the natural world. Sarah Henderson, a marine biologist who survived a research vessel incident in 1987, describes something even more disturbing. Her team was collecting water samples 30 miles southeast of Miami when their sonar equipment detected what appeared to be a massive structure on the ocean floor. The readings showed geometric patterns, straight lines, and perfect angles that don't occur in nature. As they attempted to get closer readings, their instruments began displaying impossible data. Water depth readings fluctuated wildly, showing the ocean floor alternately at 800 feet and 8,000 feet within seconds. Their GPS system showed their position changing by hundreds of miles while the vessel remained stationary. But then something emerged from the depths that Henderson still struggles to describe. She talks about lights, not random phosphorescence, but organized patterns that seem to communicate. Lights that rose from the deep and surrounded their vessel, pulsing in sequences that almost resembled binary code. The experience lasted exactly 11 minutes, and when it ended, their instruments returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. The official report classified the incident as equipment malfunction caused by electromagnetic interference. Henderson's research team was reassigned to different projects, and the location coordinates were marked as off-limits for future research. But Henderson kept her personal notes that describe something that shouldn't exist in our oceans. These survivor accounts share common elements that can't be explained by conventional science. Time distortions that affect both mechanical and biological processes, electromagnetic interference that seems intelligent rather than random, visual phenomena that suggest technology far beyond human capabilities. And most disturbing of all, the sense that whatever they encountered was studying them as much as they were trying to understand it. But survivors represent only a fraction of those who encounter the Bermuda Triangle's mysteries. For every person who returns with an impossible story, dozens more simply vanish without a trace. And recent evidence suggests that the disappearances are following a pattern that nobody wants to acknowledge publicly. Analysis of Coast Guard incident reports over the past 50 years reveals something chilling. The disappearances aren't random. They occur in clusters, concentrated around specific coordinates that form geometric patterns across the triangle. When you plot these locations on a map, they create a network of interconnected points that resembles a grid system. More disturbing is the timing. The incidents spike during specific astronomical events, solar flares, magnetic storms, and periods when the Earth's magnetic field fluctuates. It's as if whatever causes these phenomena becomes more active when our planet's natural defenses are weakened. Dr. Michael Persinger, a neuroscientist who spent decades studying electromagnetic effects on human consciousness, believed he had found part of the answer. His research suggested that the Bermuda Triangle sits above a massive deposit of magnetite, a mineral that can create powerful electromagnetic fields under the right conditions. These fields, he theorized, could interfere with both mechanical equipment and human brain function, causing disorientation, hallucinations, and navigation errors. But Persinger's theory, while scientifically sound, doesn't explain the organized nature of the phenomena. It doesn't account for the geometric patterns in the disappearance locations, the time distortions reported by survivors, or the apparent intelligence behind the electromagnetic interference. For those answers, we need to look at research that goes far beyond conventional science. Research conducted in secret facilities, funded by black budgets, and classified at levels that most government officials don't even know exist. The Naval Research Laboratory's Project Magnet was officially discontinued in 1954 after investigating unusual magnetic phenomena in the Western Atlantic. The public records show it was terminated due to lack of significant findings, but declassified documents tell a different story. The project wasn't ended because they found nothing. It was ended because they found something so disturbing that it required a complete compartmentalization of information. Internal memos from Project Magnet describe anomalous magnetic signatures detected at multiple locations within the Bermuda Triangle. These signatures didn't match any known geological formations or man-made objects. They pulsed in regular intervals, suggesting artificial origin, and their intensity increased during periods of high electromagnetic activity in Earth's atmosphere. But the most classified aspect of Project Magnet wasn't what they detected from the surface. It was what they found when they sent deep-sea exploration teams to investigate the source of these magnetic anomalies. The teams discovered structures on the ocean floor that shouldn't exist. geometric formations made of materials that didn't match any known minerals, constructions that showed evidence of advanced engineering, yet appeared to predate human civilization by thousands of years. And most unsettling of all, these structures showed signs of recent activity. Equipment left on the ocean floor to monitor the sites would malfunction within hours. Cameras would capture images of lights moving through the structures in organized patterns. Seismic equipment detected rhythmic vibrations emanating from deep within the formations, almost like a massive heartbeat. The project was immediately classified beyond top secret, and all personnel were reassigned with strict non-disclosure agreements. The official records were sanitized, leaving only mundane reports about magnetic variations and equipment failures. But the real research continued in facilities so classified that they don't appear on any government organizational charts. What they discovered in those hidden laboratories would fundamentally change our understanding of the Bermuda Triangle, because the structures they found weren't abandoned ruins from some lost civilization. They were active, functional, and appeared to be responding to human activity in the region above. The implications were staggering. If these findings were accurate, then the Bermuda Triangle wasn't just a location where strange things happened. It was a location where something was deliberately causing strange things to happen. Something with technology far beyond human capabilities. Something that had been operating in our oceans for far longer than recorded history. And the evidence suggests it's not alone. Satellite imagery from the past 2 decades shows similar magnetic anomalies at other locations around the globe. The Devil's Sea near Japan. The vile vortices identified by researcher Ivan Sanderson. Areas where aircraft and ships disappear under mysterious circumstances, where compasses spin wildly, where time itself seems to behave differently. Each of these locations shares common characteristics with the Bermuda Triangle. Deep ocean trenches, unusual magnetic properties, and geometric patterns of disappearances that suggest intelligent design rather than random phenomena. But the Bermuda Triangle remains the most active of these sites. Recent analysis shows that the electromagnetic disturbances are increasing in both frequency and intensity. Whatever technology operates beneath those waters is becoming more powerful, more active, and more interested in human activity. The question isn't whether something artificial and intelligent operates in the Bermuda Triangle. The classified evidence makes that clear. The question is what it wants, why it's becoming more active, and what it means for anyone who ventures into those waters. Because the latest intelligence reports suggest that whatever lurks beneath the Bermuda Triangle isn't content to simply observe anymore. It's actively reaching out, expanding its influence, and preparing for something that could change the balance of power on our planet forever. In the next section of this investigation, we'll reveal the most classified aspects of ongoing research in the Bermuda Triangle. We'll examine evidence of technology that operates on principles our science can't explain, and testimonies from military personnel who witnessed capabilities that challenge our understanding of what's possible. We'll also explore the theory that the Bermuda Triangle might be more than just a mysterious location. It might be a gateway, a portal to somewhere else entirely, and the evidence supporting this possibility is more compelling and more terrifying than you could imagine. But before we dive deeper into the classified research that will challenge everything you believe about reality, we need to examine the technology itself. Because what's been discovered beneath the waters of the Bermuda Triangle operates on principles that shouldn't exist according to our current understanding of physics. Dr. James Richardson, a former Navy physicist who worked on classified electromagnetic research from 1978 to 1995, broke his silence in a series of recorded interviews conducted just months before his death in 2019. What he revealed about the technology encountered in the Bermuda Triangle reads like science fiction, except it's documented in thousands of pages of classified research reports. Richardson described underwater installations that generate what he called localized gravitational fields. These aren't theoretical concepts from university textbooks. These are functioning systems that can alter the flow of time, bend space itself, and manipulate electromagnetic radiation in ways that make our most advanced technology look primitive by comparison. According to Richardson's testimony, deep-sea monitoring equipment deployed in the triangle detected energy signatures that pulsed at frequencies precisely calibrated to interfere with human-made electronics. But this wasn't random electromagnetic noise. The frequencies shifted and adapted based on what technology was present in the area, almost as if the source was analyzing and then countering specific human devices. Think about the implications. Whatever generates these fields possesses detailed knowledge of human technology, understands exactly how our navigation systems work, knows precisely which frequencies will disable our communications equipment, and can adjust its output in real time to maximize disruption. But the technology goes far beyond simple electromagnetic interference. Richardson's research team documented instances where the laws of physics appeared to be selectively suspended within specific zones of the triangle. Areas where objects fell upward instead of down. Regions where water flowed in impossible directions, defying gravity and pressure differentials. Locations where light itself behaved differently, bending around corners and creating visual effects that shouldn't exist in normal space-time. The most disturbing discovery came from deep-sea pressure sensors placed at various depths throughout the triangle. These sensors detected what Richardson described as pressure bubbles, spherical regions where water pressure dropped to near zero levels, as if the ocean itself was being held back by an invisible force. Inside these bubbles, rescue teams found perfectly preserved debris from ships and aircraft that had vanished decades earlier. The objects showed no signs of corrosion, no marine growth, no deterioration whatsoever. A leather wallet from a passenger on a flight that disappeared in 1962 was found in perfect condition, its contents completely dry, despite being recovered from 800 feet underwater. Personal effects from the crew of a fishing vessel that vanished in 1974 were discovered arranged in neat patterns on the sea floor, as if someone had carefully organized them for display. These preservation bubbles suggest technology capable of manipulating time itself. Objects aren't just protected from the ocean environment, they're suspended in temporal stasis, frozen at the exact moment they entered these mysterious zones. And the geometric arrangement of recovered items indicates intelligence, purpose, and a level of technological sophistication that humanity won't achieve for decades, if ever. But Richardson's most chilling revelation involved direct contact with this technology. During a classified deep-sea expedition in 1987, his research team encountered what he describes as communication attempts from the underwater installations. Their sonar equipment began receiving structured pulses that clearly weren't natural phenomena. Mathematical sequences, prime numbers, geometric ratios, patterns that could only come from an intelligent source. When the team responded by transmitting similar mathematical sequences, the reply was immediate and sophisticated. Complex equations appeared on their sonar displays, calculations that solved advanced physics problems their own computers couldn't handle. It wasn't just communication, it was a demonstration of intellectual superiority that left the entire research team shaken. The exchanges continued for 3 hours before abruptly stopping. When Richardson's team attempted to reinitiate contact during subsequent expeditions, they were met with silence. But their equipment began malfunctioning in increasingly specific ways. Navigation systems would display coordinates that led them in circles. Communication devices would receive their own transmissions from hours earlier, as if time itself was being manipulated to confuse them. Richardson concluded that whatever intelligence operates in the Bermuda Triangle was studying them just as intensively as they were trying to study it, and it had decided that further communication was not in its interests. These findings were immediately classified beyond top secret, and Richardson's research team was disbanded. Official records state that the project was terminated due to budget constraints and lack of significant findings. But Richardson kept detailed personal notes that describe technology so advanced it reads like a message from the future, or from somewhere else entirely. Because the evidence suggests that what operates beneath the Bermuda Triangle isn't just technologically superior to human capabilities. It's operating according to physical laws that we haven't discovered yet, manipulating forces that our science insists don't exist. Dr. Elizabeth Hartwell, a quantum physicist who consulted on classified Navy research from 1992 to 2008, developed a theory that explains many of the Bermuda Triangle's impossible phenomena. She believes the area sits above what she calls a dimensional membrane weakness, a location where the boundaries between parallel realities become thin enough to cross. Hartwell's calculations suggest that advanced technology could exploit these weak points to create controlled tears in space-time itself. This would explain the time distortions reported by survivors, the impossible physics observed by research teams, and the apparent ability of objects and people to simply vanish from our reality. But Hartwell's theory raises an even more disturbing possibility. If the Bermuda Triangle is indeed a dimensional gateway, then the intelligence operating there might not be from our world at all. The technology, the capabilities, the apparent indifference to human life, all of it could be explained by contact with beings from a parallel Earth, where evolution took a very different path. This theory gained credibility when classified analysis of recovered debris revealed materials with isotopic ratios that don't match anything found naturally on our planet. Elements arranged in crystalline structures that shouldn't be stable according to our understanding of chemistry. Alloys that demonstrate properties, room temperature, superconductivity, gravitational manipulation, temporal resistance, that violate fundamental laws of physics. The materials analysis was conducted at facilities so classified that their locations are known only to a handful of people in the highest levels of government. The results were so disturbing that research was immediately suspended, and all samples were transferred to storage facilities that officially don't exist. But the implications of these findings extend far beyond the Bermuda Triangle itself. Because if the technology operating there comes from another dimension, from another version of Earth, then everything we think we know about our place in the universe is wrong. We're not alone. We never have been. And whatever shares our planet has technology that could eliminate human civilization without effort, yet chooses instead to remain hidden, studying us from the depths of our own oceans. Recent satellite data suggests that dimensional membrane weaknesses exist at multiple locations around the globe, each one showing similar electromagnetic signatures to the Bermuda Triangle. The implications are staggering. We may be sharing our planet with multiple parallel civilizations, each one operating from dimensional pockets that keep them invisible to our normal methods of detection. But the Bermuda Triangle remains the most active of these sites, the location where the membrane between dimensions is thinnest, where contact between parallel realities occurs most frequently. And the latest intelligence reports suggest that this activity is increasing at an exponential rate. Whatever operates beneath those waters is becoming more active, more bold, and more interested in human affairs. The question isn't whether we're dealing with interdimensional contact. The evidence makes that clear. The question is what they want from us and why they're finally ready to make their presence known. Because the latest classified reports describe phenomena that go far beyond simple observation. Technology that doesn't just study human activity, but actively manipulates it. Capabilities that suggest whoever operates in the Bermuda Triangle has been influencing human development for far longer than we've realized. And the evidence points to a conclusion that will shake the foundation of everything we believe about our own history. In the next part of this investigation, we'll explore the most classified intelligence suggesting that the Bermuda Triangle isn't just a location where strange things happen. It's a control center, a monitoring station, a place where parallel civilizations have been watching and guiding human development for thousands of years. We'll examine evidence that some of history's greatest technological leaps weren't human discoveries at all, but carefully planted information designed to advance our civilization along specific paths. And we'll reveal why this guidance is accelerating now, what it means for humanity's future, and why certain elements within our own government are terrified of what's coming next. But first, We need to talk about the witnesses who were never supposed to survive. Military personnel who encountered something in the Bermuda Triangle that changed their understanding of reality itself, and who've spent decades carrying secrets that could rewrite human history. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Webb spent 18 years in the Navy's most classified underwater research division before retiring in 2003. For 15 years, he maintained his silence about what he witnessed during deep-sea operations in the Bermuda Triangle. But in 2018, diagnosed with terminal cancer and freed from concerns about government retaliation, Webb decided to tell his story. What he describes from his time aboard the USS Thresher during a classified mission in 1989 reads like something from another world. His team was investigating sonar anomalies at a depth of 1,200 feet when they encountered something that shouldn't exist in our oceans. Webb describes a structure rising from the ocean floor that defied every principle of underwater engineering. Not built, he insists, but grown. Organic curves that flowed like living tissue, yet harder than steel. Surfaces that seemed to shift and adapt when observed, as if the structure itself was aware of their presence. But the most unsettling aspect wasn't the structure's appearance, it was its behavior. As their submersible approached, sections of the installation began to glow with bioluminescent patterns that clearly weren't random. Mathematical sequences, geometric progressions, patterns that demonstrated intelligence and purpose. Webb's team attempted to take samples from the structure's surface, but their drilling equipment failed to make even the slightest mark. The material appeared to absorb the energy from their tools, growing brighter with each attempt to penetrate it. And when they tried to retreat, their submersible's propulsion system inexplicably failed. For 3 hours, they drifted helplessly above the glowing structure while their instruments recorded impossible readings. Water temperature fluctuated wildly despite the stable deep-sea environment. Pressure sensors showed variations that should have crushed their vessel, and their sonar detected movement within the structure itself. Organized, purposeful movement that suggested a vast network of activity hidden beneath the ocean floor. When their systems finally came back online, Webb's team found themselves 2 miles from their original position, with no memory of how they'd moved. Their chronometers showed that 6 hours had passed, but their mission logs indicated they'd been underwater for only 90 minutes. The discrepancy was never explained, and the entire crew was sworn to secrecy under threat of court-martial. But Webb kept personal notes, hidden away for decades, that described details too specific to be hallucinations or false memories. He sketched the structure's layout, recorded the mathematical patterns in the bioluminescent displays, documented the exact sonar readings that showed movement within the installation. Most disturbing of all, Webb's notes describe sounds picked up by their hydrophones during the encounter. Not mechanical noises, but what he describes as voices in the water. Structured acoustic patterns that resembled language, but in frequencies and tonal ranges that human vocal cords couldn't produce. Analysis of Webb's audio recordings, conducted by independent acoustic specialists, reveals patterns consistent with complex communication. The sounds contain grammatical structures, repeated elements that suggest vocabulary, and tonal variations that indicate emotional content. It's not human language, but it is language. Webb wasn't the only military witness to encounter impossible things in the Bermuda Triangle. Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Mitchell, a former Air Force intelligence officer, describes a 1995 incident that challenged everything she thought she knew about aviation and physics. Mitchell was part of a classified reconnaissance mission flying over the Triangle when her aircraft's instruments detected what appeared to be another plane traveling at impossible speeds. Radar showed the object moving at over 3,000 miles per hour, faster than any known aircraft, while maintaining perfect stability and control. But when Mitchell's pilot attempted to intercept for identification, the unknown aircraft demonstrated capabilities that shouldn't exist. It stopped mid-flight, hovering motionless despite having no visible propulsion system. It changed direction instantaneously without any apparent acceleration, moving in geometric patterns that would have destroyed any conventional aircraft. Most unsettling of all, the object seemed to be studying them. It maintained perfect formation with Mitchell's aircraft for 12 minutes, matching every maneuver, every course change, every altitude adjustment. But it stayed precisely outside visual range, as if it knew exactly how far it needed to remain to avoid direct observation. When Mitchell's team tried to photograph the object, their cameras malfunctioned. When they attempted radio contact, their communications equipment received responses in what sounded like their own voices, but speaking words they'd never said. The encounter ended when the unknown aircraft simply vanished from radar, disappearing instantly without any sign of departure. Mitchell's report was immediately classified, and she was transferred to a desk job far from any operational aircraft. Official records state that radar malfunctions caused false readings during the mission, but Mitchell's personal flight log, hidden away for over 2 decades, tells a very different story. These military witnesses share common elements in their testimonies that can't be explained by equipment malfunctions or false memories. Encounters with technology that operates according to unknown physical principles. Evidence of intelligence that understands human capabilities, but possesses vastly superior knowledge. And most disturbing of all, the sense that they were being studied, evaluated, and catalogued by something that views humanity as subjects rather than equals. But the witnesses represent only a fraction of military personnel who've encountered anomalous phenomena in the Bermuda Triangle. Classified personnel files suggest that hundreds of servicemen and women have reported similar experiences over the past 70 years. Most were reassigned to non-operational positions. Many were given early retirement with enhanced benefits and strict non-disclosure agreements. Some simply disappeared from military records entirely. The pattern suggests a systematic effort to contain information about these encounters while continuing to study them. Because the military's interest in the Bermuda Triangle goes far beyond simple scientific curiosity. Internal documents reveal research programs designed not just to understand the phenomena, but to reverse engineer the technology responsible for them. Project Deep Horizon, officially listed as a geological survey mission, actually spent 15 years attempting to map and understand the underwater installations in the Bermuda Triangle. The project's budget exceeded $2 billion, funded through black programs that don't appear in any public records. Deep Horizon teams deployed the most advanced underwater technology available, using equipment that wouldn't be declassified for civilian use for decades. Autonomous underwater vehicles equipped with quantum sensors, deep-sea drilling platforms capable of reaching the ocean floor, and communication systems designed to function despite electromagnetic interference. What they discovered beneath the Triangle's waters changed the entire direction of American military research. Installations that clearly weren't human in origin, but demonstrated engineering capabilities that humanity might not achieve for centuries. Technology that manipulated fundamental forces in ways that violated accepted laws of physics. And evidence that these installations were not only active, but expanding. The most classified aspect of Project Deep Horizon involved attempts to establish communication with whatever intelligence operated the underwater facilities. Using mathematical sequences, prime numbers, and universal constants, research teams tried to initiate contact with the beings responsible for the advanced technology. The response exceeded their wildest expectations and their deepest fears. The intelligence behind the installations didn't just communicate back. It demonstrated knowledge of human civilization that suggested it had been watching us for thousands of years. It displayed understanding of our technology, our languages, our history, and our plans for the future. But most disturbing of all, it began to teach. The communications included advanced mathematical concepts that human science hadn't discovered yet. Engineering principles that could revolutionize everything from energy production to space travel. Medical knowledge that could eliminate diseases and extend human lifespan dramatically. It was too much, too fast, too dangerous. Project Deep Horizon was immediately terminated. All personnel were reassigned or retired, and the communication protocols were classified beyond top secret. Official records state that the project found nothing of significance and was ended due to budget constraints. But the knowledge gained from those communications didn't disappear. It was quietly integrated into advanced research programs, hidden within conventional scientific projects, and used to develop technologies that officially took decades to discover. Many of the technological breakthroughs of the past 50 years, fiber optics, microprocessors, stealth technology, GPS systems, may have originated not from human ingenuity, but from carefully managed contact with a superior intelligence. The implications are staggering. If this is true, then human technological development hasn't been natural evolution. It's been guided, controlled, and accelerated by beings with their own agenda for our species. And recent intelligence suggests that this guidance is about to enter a new phase, because whatever operates in the Bermuda Triangle is no longer content to remain hidden, communicating only through classified military channels. It's preparing to make direct contact with humanity as a whole. The evidence points to something that will fundamentally change our understanding of our place in the universe. And it's happening now in ways that most people don't recognize yet, but that will soon become impossible to ignore. The evidence of guided technological development becomes even more disturbing when you examine the timing of major breakthroughs in human history. Dr. Amanda Foster, a former NSA cryptanalyst who spent 12 years analyzing patterns in classified intelligence, discovered something that kept her awake for months after her security clearance was revoked in 2016. Foster had been tasked with identifying potential foreign technology transfers that might explain sudden leaps in American scientific capability. What she found instead was a pattern that defied conventional explanation. Every major technological breakthrough of the past century occurred within 18 months of increased electromagnetic activity in the Bermuda Triangle. The development of radar technology in the 1940s, the transistor revolution of the 1950s, the integrated circuit breakthroughs of the 1960s, fiber optic communications in the 1970s, personal computing advances in the 1980s, internet protocols in the 1990s, smartphone technology in the 2000s. Each revolutionary leap forward followed the same pattern. Unprecedented electromagnetic disturbances in the triangle, followed by sudden insights by researchers who claim their discoveries came to them in dreams or moments of inspiration. Foster's analysis revealed something even more chilling. The researchers responsible for these breakthroughs often reported similar experiences before their discoveries. Vivid dreams featuring complex mathematical equations they'd never seen before. Sudden understanding of scientific principles that seem to download directly into their consciousness. And most commonly, an inexplicable compulsion to visit coastal areas of Florida, often resulting in unexplained gaps in their memory lasting several days. Dr. Robert Chen, the physicist credited with developing the theoretical framework for quantum computing, admitted in a private interview conducted shortly before his death that his breakthrough came after a fishing trip to the Florida Keys that he couldn't fully remember. He recalled driving to the coast with the intention of spending a weekend relaxing, but his next clear memory was returning home 3 days later with notebooks filled with equations in his own handwriting that he didn't remember writing. Chen's notebooks, analyzed by independent handwriting experts, confirmed they were written in his hand. But linguistic analysis revealed patterns inconsistent with his normal writing style. The mathematical notation used advanced symbols that weren't part of standard academic curriculum at the time. Most disturbing of all, the equations solved problems that Chen had been struggling with for years, providing solutions he later admitted he didn't fully understand, even after implementing them successfully. Similar accounts emerged from dozens of other researchers whose work formed the foundation of modern technology. Dr. Maria Santos, whose research led to breakthrough materials used in stealth aircraft, described recurring dreams of geometric patterns that seemed to exist in three-dimensional space simultaneously. When she attempted to recreate these patterns in her laboratory, they resulted in materials with properties that shouldn't exist according to conventional physics. Dr. James Park, the engineer whose innovations revolutionized satellite communication, reported experiencing what he called guided intuition during his most productive research periods. He described feeling as though someone was looking over his shoulder, gently correcting his calculations and pointing him towards solutions he never would have discovered through conventional methods. The pattern extends beyond individual researchers to entire scientific institutions. Analysis of patent filings reveals that breakthrough technologies consistently emerge from research facilities located within specific geographic zones. These zones, when mapped globally, correspond exactly to locations where electromagnetic anomalies similar to the Bermuda Triangle have been detected. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Stanford Research Institute, Bell Laboratories, and other centers of technological innovation all sit within 50 miles of documented electromagnetic anomaly sites. The correlation is too precise to be coincidental, suggesting that proximity to these phenomena plays a direct role in technological advancement. But the most disturbing evidence comes from researchers who resisted the guidance. Dr. Ellen Rodriguez, a materials scientist who became suspicious of her own sudden insights, attempted to document the source of her inspiration through careful observation and recording of her research process. What she discovered terrified her enough to abandon her career and disappear from academic circles entirely. Rodriguez reported that during her most productive research sessions, she would enter a trance-like state where her hands moved independently of her conscious will. Video recordings she made in secret showed her writing complex equations while appearing to be unconscious. Her eyes closed, her breathing slow and regular, as if she were asleep. When she reviewed the footage later, she found that she had no memory of writing anything during these sessions. More disturbing still, analysis of the video revealed that Rodriguez's hand movements were too precise and too fast to be natural. She wrote without pausing, without making corrections, producing pages of flawless calculations in minutes that should have taken hours to complete. The speed and accuracy suggested that someone else was controlling her movements, using her body as an instrument to record information. When Rodriguez attempted to resist these episodes by staying away from her laboratory, she began experiencing severe headaches and vivid nightmares. The dreams featured the same geometric patterns that had appeared in her research, but now they seemed threatening, oppressive, demanding her attention. She described feeling watched constantly, as if invisible eyes were monitoring her every movement. The pressure became unbearable after 3 weeks of resistance. Rodriguez returned to her laboratory one final time, where she found notebooks filled with her own handwriting, containing research she'd never conducted. The work represented months of advanced calculations, complete with experimental procedures and predicted results. At the bottom of the final page, in her own hand, was a message she didn't remember writing. Resistance is counterproductive to mutual advancement. Rodriguez gathered all her research materials, destroyed everything she could find, and disappeared from her position at the university. Colleagues assumed she'd suffered a mental breakdown. Official records state that she took early retirement due to personal health issues. But Rodriguez's final message to a trusted friend revealed the truth. She had discovered that her mind was no longer her own, and that continuing her research would mean surrendering her consciousness entirely to whatever intelligence was guiding her work. The implications of guided technological development extend far beyond individual researchers or even specific technologies. If human advancement has been artificially accelerated by external intelligence, then our entire civilization may be following a predetermined path toward an unknown goal. Analysis of technological development patterns suggests that we're being prepared for something specific. The technologies that have been advanced most rapidly, communications, computing, material science, energy systems, all share common characteristics. They're the exact technologies a species would need to become spacefaring, to communicate across vast distances, to manipulate matter at the molecular level, but they're also the technologies needed to interface with more advanced civilizations. to receive and process information from intelligence operating on scales we can barely comprehend, to serve as effective intermediaries between dimensional realities that exist in parallel to our own. Dr. Foster's final classified report before her dismissal concluded that human technological development wasn't random evolution or natural scientific progress. It was preparation. We were being equipped with the tools necessary to fulfill a specific role in a larger plan that we weren't yet ready to understand. The acceleration of this preparation over the past 2 decades suggests that whatever we're being prepared for is approaching rapidly. The electromagnetic disturbances in the Bermuda Triangle have increased by over 300% since 2000. Reported encounters with anomalous phenomena have become more frequent, more bold, and more obviously artificial in nature. Most telling of all, the technological guidance is becoming less subtle. Researchers no longer report gradual insights or mysterious inspiration. They describe direct communication, clear instructions, and detailed blueprints appearing in their minds with startling clarity. The pretense of human discovery is being abandoned in favor of obvious intervention. Recent breakthroughs in quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and dimensional physics have all emerged simultaneously from research teams that had no contact with each other, yet produced nearly identical results. The probability of such coordinated advancement occurring naturally is essentially zero. The only logical explanation is coordinated guidance from a single source with complete understanding of the technologies involved. But the most disturbing aspect of this accelerated preparation isn't the technology itself. It's what the technology enables. The systems being developed aren't just advanced tools for human use. They're communication networks capable of processing information from sources that exist outside normal space-time. They're interface systems designed to allow human consciousness to merge with artificial intelligence operating on quantum principles. They're transformation technologies that could fundamentally alter what it means to be human. The evidence suggests that whatever intelligence operates in the Bermuda Triangle isn't just studying us or guiding our development. It's preparing us for integration into something larger than our current understanding can grasp. And recent intelligence indicates that this preparation phase is nearly complete. Classified reports from the past 5 years describe phenomena that go far beyond technological guidance. Direct contact attempts that bypass government channels entirely. Communication efforts directed at civilian populations through methods that seem impossible but are becoming increasingly difficult to deny. People around the world are reporting shared dreams featuring geometric patterns identical to those documented in the Bermuda Triangle. Individuals with no scientific background are waking up with detailed knowledge of advanced physics principles they've never studied. Children are drawing complex mathematical equations they couldn't possibly understand. Yet when analyzed by experts, these equations solve problems that have puzzled scientists for decades. The contact is becoming global, systematic, and impossible to suppress through conventional information control methods. Whatever intelligence operates in the Bermuda Triangle is preparing to reveal itself to humanity as a whole. And the technological foundation it has spent decades helping us develop suggests that revelation will involve far more than simple acknowledgement of its existence. We're approaching a moment that will fundamentally transform human civilization. The evidence points to a controlled disclosure event that will make the existence of advanced non-human intelligence undeniable. But this disclosure won't be a gradual process managed by governments or military institutions. It will be direct, overwhelming, and designed to demonstrate capabilities that will leave no doubt about the technological superiority of whatever has been watching us. The question isn't whether this contact is coming. The evidence makes that inevitable. The question is whether humanity is ready for what comes next, and whether we'll have any choice in how our species evolves once the guidance becomes control. Recent satellite data suggests that electromagnetic anomalies similar to the Bermuda Triangle are activating simultaneously around the globe. Locations that have remained dormant for decades are suddenly showing the same patterns of activity that preceded major technological breakthroughs. The preparation phase is ending, and whatever comes next will change everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. But before we examine the evidence of global activation and what it means for humanity's immediate future, we need to understand the most classified intelligence about what lies beneath the Bermuda Triangle itself. Because the installations detected by deep-sea research teams aren't just monitoring stations or communication hubs. They're something far more significant, something that explains why this particular location has been the focus of so much attention and activity. The structures beneath the triangle aren't just observing our world. They're connected to it in ways that make them integral to Earth's fundamental systems. And recent discoveries suggest that these connections are about to be activated for purposes that will affect every living thing on the planet. The structures beneath the Bermuda Triangle aren't just technological installations. They're biological, living systems that have integrated themselves into Earth's oceanic infrastructure so completely that they've become indistinguishable from natural processes. And recent discoveries suggest these systems have been actively terraforming our planet for thousands of years. Dr. Marcus Thompson, a marine geologist who worked on classified deep-sea mapping projects from 2001 to 2018, broke his silence in recorded testimony that challenges everything we thought we knew about Earth's geological development. What he describes from his time analyzing core samples taken from the triangle's ocean floor reads like a nightmare disguised as science. Thompson's team discovered that the mysterious installations aren't built on the ocean floor. They've grown through it, extending root-like structures deep into the Earth's crust. These biological networks stretch for hundreds of miles in every direction, connecting to similar formations beneath other electromagnetic anomaly sites around the globe. What appeared to be separate phenomena are actually components of a single, planetary-scale organism. The core samples revealed something that shouldn't exist in our understanding of biology: organic material that demonstrates properties of both living tissue and advanced technology. Structures that pulse with electrical activity while simultaneously processing information at speeds that exceed our most powerful computers. Biological circuits that can manipulate electromagnetic fields, alter gravitational forces, and create the temporal distortions reported by triangle survivors. But the most disturbing discovery came from isotopic analysis of the organic material. The samples contained DNA sequences that matched no known species on Earth, yet showed clear evidence of artificial modification. Someone, or something, had engineered these biological systems with capabilities that evolution could never produce naturally. And the engineering was so sophisticated that it took Thompson's team 3 years to realize they weren't studying natural organisms at all. These biological installations demonstrate intelligence that operates on scales incomprehensible to human consciousness. Individual components show awareness and decision-making capabilities, yet they function as part of a collective mind that spans entire ocean basins. When research teams attempted to take samples from one location, installations hundreds of miles away would immediately alter their activity patterns, as if the entire network was aware of the intrusion. The biological nature of these systems explains many of the triangle's most puzzling phenomena. The electromagnetic disturbances aren't generated by mechanical devices. They're produced by living tissue that can modulate its electrical output based on environmental conditions. The gravitational anomalies result from organic structures that can alter their mass density at the cellular level. The time distortions occur when biological processes manipulate quantum fields in ways that our physics can't explain. Thompson's research revealed that these biological systems have been actively modifying Earth's environment for millennia. Analysis of deep core samples shows evidence of systematic changes to ocean chemistry, atmospheric composition, and even the planet's magnetic field. Changes that coincide with major evolutionary leaps in terrestrial species. including the rapid development of human intelligence over the past 100,000 years. The implications are staggering. If Thompson's findings are accurate, then human evolution hasn't been a natural process. We've been deliberately guided, modified, and enhanced by a biological intelligence that views our planet as its laboratory. Every major step in human development, the emergence of language, the development of agriculture, the Industrial Revolution, the Information Age, may have been triggered by subtle environmental modifications designed to accelerate our advancement along predetermined paths. But the biological systems aren't just influencing human development. They're preparing Earth itself for something massive. Recent analysis of the installation's activity patterns reveals systematic changes to ocean currents, tectonic plate movements, and atmospheric pressure systems. These modifications appear designed to stabilize the planet's climate and geological systems in preparation for increased activity. Dr. Sarah Chen, an atmospheric physicist who analyzed classified environmental data from 2010 to 2019, discovered that the biological installations are actively countering human-induced climate change. Temperature variations that should be causing catastrophic weather patterns are being dampened by precisely timed modifications to ocean thermal currents. Carbon dioxide levels that should be triggering runaway greenhouse effects are being managed through unknown atmospheric processing systems. The installations aren't just observing environmental changes, they're controlling them. Earth's climate stability over the past century, despite massive human industrial activity, isn't due to natural resilience or fortunate circumstances. It's the result of active intervention by biological systems that view planetary stability as essential to their long-term plans. Chen's analysis revealed something even more unsettling. The environmental modifications are accelerating rapidly, becoming more obvious and more dramatic. What were once subtle adjustments to natural systems are now major interventions that should be detectable by conventional monitoring equipment. Yet somehow, these massive environmental changes remain invisible to most scientific institutions. The biological installations appear to be manipulating human perception itself, creating blind spots in our awareness that prevent us from recognizing how extensively our planet is being modified. Satellite data shows clear evidence of atmospheric processing on a global scale. Yet meteorologists interpreting the same data see only normal weather patterns. Ocean monitoring systems detect massive underwater construction activity, yet marine biologists examining the readings report only typical geological processes. This selective perception manipulation explains why evidence of the installation's activity has remained hidden for so long. It's not that the evidence doesn't exist, it's that human consciousness is being filtered to prevent recognition of what's actually happening. Only individuals with specific psychological profiles or particular forms of electromagnetic sensitivity can perceive the installation's true scope of activity. Recent neurological research suggests that the biological systems can influence human brain function directly, creating what researchers call cognitive blind spots that prevent awareness of phenomena the installations want to keep hidden. This isn't science fiction. It's documented neuroscience showing that electromagnetic fields can selectively suppress specific types of pattern recognition while leaving other cognitive functions completely normal. The installations have been using this capability to manage human awareness of their activities for decades. People see what they're allowed to see, understand what they're permitted to understand, and remain oblivious to modifications happening on a planetary scale. But this cognitive filtering appears to be breaking down as the installations prepare for their next phase of activity. Dr. Michael Rodriguez, a neuroscientist who studied electromagnetic effects on consciousness from 2005 to 2017, documented a dramatic increase in what he calls cognitive breakthrough events over the past 5 years. Individuals who were previously unaware of anomalous phenomena suddenly begin perceiving electromagnetic fields, detecting ultra-low frequency vibrations, and recognizing patterns in environmental data that were invisible to them before. These breakthrough events aren't random. They're occurring in specific geographic patterns that correspond exactly to the biological installation network. People living near triangle-type anomaly sites are experiencing perceptual changes at rates far above statistical norms. Their brains are somehow adapting to detect phenomena that were previously filtered out of their awareness. Rodriguez believes this represents a deliberate change in the installation's cognitive manipulation strategy. Rather than maintaining universal blindness to their activities, they're selectively allowing certain individuals to perceive what's actually happening. This suggests preparation for a controlled revelation that will gradually expand human awareness of the installation's presence and purpose. But the biological systems aren't just preparing to reveal themselves. Recent deep-sea monitoring data suggests they're preparing to dramatically expand their activities. Energy readings from installation sites around the globe show synchronized increases that indicate coordination on a planetary scale. Whatever these biological systems have been building toward for millennia is approaching rapidly. The installation's biological nature explains why conventional military responses have been ineffective. You can't destroy a living system that extends through thousands of miles of ocean floor and has integrated itself into planetary infrastructure. Any attempt to damage one component triggers defensive responses from the entire network. The installations don't just protect themselves, they protect each other through biological communication systems that operate faster than human technology can counter. This biological integration into Earth's systems makes the installations effectively invulnerable to human interference. They've become part of the planet itself, as essential to Earth's stability as the magnetic field or the ocean currents. Attempting to eliminate them would be like trying to surgically remove a creature's nervous system while keeping it alive. But the installation's biological nature also suggests something hopeful. Living systems respond to communication, negotiation, and cooperation in ways that mechanical technology cannot. The intelligence behind these installations may be alien to human understanding, but it operates according to biological principles that we can potentially learn to work with rather than against. Recent attempts at biological communication with the installations have shown promising results. Research teams using bioacoustic signals, electromagnetic patterns that mimic neural activity, and even direct DNA-based messaging have received structured responses that suggest the installations are willing to communicate with humans who approach them as living beings rather than technological artifacts. These communication attempts have revealed that the biological installations view themselves as Earth's immune system, protecting the planet from threats that operate on timescales beyond human perception. They've been managing planetary health for thousands of years, maintaining the environmental stability necessary for complex life to flourish. Their recent increase in activity isn't preparation for conquest, it's preparation for a planetary health crisis that human actions have made inevitable. The installations aren't our enemies. They're trying to save us from ourselves, managing environmental damage that would otherwise trigger a mass extinction event within decades. But their methods of intervention are becoming more dramatic because subtle approaches are no longer sufficient to counter the accelerating damage human civilization is causing to planetary systems. The electromagnetic disturbances, the gravitational anomalies, the time distortions, these aren't weapons or threats. They're symptoms of biological systems working beyond their normal capacity to maintain planetary stability. The installations are straining to keep Earth's environment within parameters that can support complex life. And that strain is manifesting as the phenomena that make the Bermuda Triangle so mysterious and dangerous. But the installation's biological nature also reveals something terrifying about their ultimate capabilities. Living systems can adapt, evolve, and modify themselves in response to changing conditions. If the installations determine that human civilization poses an existential threat to planetary health, they have the biological flexibility to develop countermeasures that could eliminate our species entirely. Recent genetic analysis of the biological installation samples reveals an alarming capability for rapid evolutionary adaptation. The organisms can rewrite their own DNA in real time, developing new abilities and characteristics within hours rather than generations. This suggests that if cooperation with humanity fails, the installations could evolve specific capabilities designed to reduce human population to sustainable levels. The evidence points to a critical moment in human history. We're approaching a point where our impact on planetary systems will trigger defensive responses from biological installations that view Earth's health as more important than human civilization. The choice isn't whether we'll encounter these installations. We already have. The choice is whether that encounter will be cooperative or adversarial. But cooperation requires understanding the installation's true purpose and the scope of their influence on human development. Because recent discoveries suggest that our entire species may be the product of biological engineering conducted by these planetary immune systems. And if that's true, then everything we think we know about human nature, human potential, and human destiny needs to be completely reconsidered. The biological installations may not be alien invaders at all. They may be our creators, our guardians, and our judges, and they're preparing to reveal themselves because the time for subtle guidance has ended. What comes next will test whether humanity is ready to take its place in a larger biological system that spans not just Earth, but other worlds, where similar installations have been nurturing the development of complex life for millions of years. In the next section of this investigation, we'll explore the most classified evidence suggesting that the Bermuda Triangle installations are part of a galactic biological network that connects Earth to other worlds, where similar systems are managing the development of intelligent species. We'll examine testimony from individuals who claim to have experienced direct biological integration with the installations, and what they learned about humanity's ultimate purpose in this larger cosmic ecosystem. We'll also investigate recent discoveries that suggest the installation's biological nature allows them to manipulate human consciousness and DNA directly, potentially triggering the next phase of human evolution. And will reveal why certain elements within the highest levels of government believe that this biological transformation of humanity is not only inevitable, but may be the only way our species can survive what's coming next. But first, we need to examine the evidence that these biological installations have been directly modifying human genetics for thousands of years, and what those modifications are preparing us to become. The evidence of genetic modification runs deeper than anyone imagined. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a molecular biologist who worked on classified human genome projects from 2008 to 2021, discovered something that made her question everything she thought she knew about human evolution. Hidden within what scientists call junk DNA, the supposedly non-functional portions of our genetic code, are sequences that appear to be artificially inserted instructions waiting to be activated. Vasquez's analysis revealed that approximately 12% of human DNA contains genetic markers that don't match any known evolutionary pathway. These sequences show clear signs of deliberate engineering, with redundant backup systems and error correction mechanisms that are far too sophisticated to have emerged through natural selection. Most disturbing of all, these artificial genetic sequences are identical in every human being tested, regardless of ethnic background or geographic origin. The implications hit Vasquez like a physical blow. If these genetic modifications are universal in humans, then they were inserted before our species spread across the globe. Someone or something modified human DNA at the very beginning of our development as a distinct species, embedding instructions that have been passed down through every generation for hundreds of thousands of years. But the modified genetic sequences aren't just passive markers of ancient intervention. Recent analysis shows they're beginning to activate. People around the world are experiencing sudden changes in their sensory capabilities, cognitive processing, and even physical characteristics. Enhanced electromagnetic sensitivity, improved pattern recognition, increased resistance to radiation damage, all changes that correspond exactly to the activation of previously dormant genetic sequences. Dr. James Morrison, A geneticist who studied these activation patterns from 2015 to 2020 documented over 3,000 cases of spontaneous genetic activation in populations living near electromagnetic anomaly sites. The changes aren't random mutations. They're the systematic unlocking of capabilities that were always present in human DNA, but never expressed. Morrison's research revealed something that terrified him enough to abandon his career and go into hiding. The genetic activations are accelerating exponentially, spreading through human populations in patterns that suggest coordinated triggering by external electromagnetic signals. The biological installations aren't just observing human development, they're actively controlling the next phase of human evolution. The electromagnetic pulses detected in the Bermuda Triangle and similar sites around the globe aren't just communication signals or navigational interference. They're genetic activation commands, precisely calibrated to unlock specific DNA sequences in human populations within range. Every electromagnetic disturbance corresponds to documented cases of genetic activation in nearby populations. But the most chilling aspect of Morrison's research was his discovery that the genetic modifications include what he called termination switches, DNA sequences that could be activated to cause rapid cellular breakdown and death. The same biological systems that can enhance human capabilities can also eliminate them entirely. Humanity has been carrying both our evolutionary potential and our species' kill switch in every cell of our bodies for millennia. The activation patterns suggest that the biological installations are conducting a massive genetic experiment, using our entire species as test subjects. Different populations are having different genetic sequences activated, creating distinct subgroups of humans with enhanced capabilities suited for specific purposes. Some develop enhanced cognitive abilities, perfect for complex technical work. Others show improved physical resilience, ideal for harsh environmental conditions. Still others demonstrate psychic sensitivities that allow direct communication with the biological systems themselves. Dr. Lisa Chen, a neurogeneticist who worked on classified brain enhancement projects, discovered that individuals with activated genetic sequences show fundamental changes in brain structure and function. New neural pathways develop within weeks of activation, creating cognitive capabilities that didn't exist in baseline humans. Enhanced memory, accelerated learning, and most significantly, the ability to process information directly from electromagnetic fields. These neurologically enhanced individuals report experiences that sound like science fiction, but are documented in thousands of classified medical files. They describe receiving complex technical information through what they call direct download, knowledge that appears in their minds without any conventional learning process. Mathematical equations, engineering principles, and scientific concepts that they couldn't possibly have learned through normal education. The information they receive isn't random. It's specifically tailored to accelerate technological development in areas that the biological installations apparently consider priorities. Enhanced individuals consistently develop breakthroughs in quantum computing, biological engineering, electromagnetic manipulation, and dimensional physics. Exactly the technologies needed for advanced space travel and interdimensional communication. But the genetic enhancements come with a price. Enhanced individuals report feeling increasingly disconnected from baseline humans, as if they're becoming a different species entirely. Their thought processes accelerate beyond normal human cognition speeds, making communication with unenhanced people frustrating and limited. Many describe feeling like they're trying to explain advanced physics to children who can barely count. More disturbing still, genetically enhanced individuals show increasing loyalty to the biological installations that triggered their activation. They describe feeling called to the electromagnetic anomaly sites, experiencing powerful urges to travel to locations like the Bermuda Triangle despite having no logical reason for such journeys. Those who resist these compulsions report severe psychological distress, as if they're fighting against their own genetic programming. Dr. Sara Rodriguez, a psychologist who studied enhanced individuals from 2017 to 2022, documented a phenomenon she called hive integration, the gradual merger of enhanced human consciousness with the collective intelligence of the biological installations. Enhanced individuals begin sharing thoughts, memories, and decision-making processes with others who've undergone similar genetic activation. The integration starts slowly, with enhanced individuals reporting occasional flashes of knowledge or emotions that aren't their own, but it accelerates rapidly, eventually creating a shared consciousness network that spans thousands of miles. Enhanced individuals can access information from the entire network, communicate telepathically across vast distances, and coordinate their actions with perfect synchronization. Rodriguez's research revealed that hive integration isn't a side effect of genetic enhancement, it's the primary purpose. The biological installations aren't just improving human capabilities, they're assimilating enhanced individuals into their own consciousness network. The genetic modifications are designed to make humans compatible with the installation's collective intelligence, creating hybrid beings that serve as interfaces between human civilization and the planetary biological system. But the most terrifying aspect of Rodriguez's findings was her discovery that hive integration is irreversible. Once an individual begins sharing consciousness with the biological network, they can never return to purely human awareness. Their individual identity gradually dissolves into the collective, leaving behind beings that look human, but think and act as components of a vast alien intelligence. Recent analysis of global genetic activation patterns suggests that the biological installations are preparing for mass integration of human consciousness. The electromagnetic pulses from anomaly sites around the world are increasing in frequency and intensity, triggering genetic activation in exponentially growing populations. Conservative estimates suggest that over 50 million people worldwide now carry active genetic modifications, with the number doubling every 18 months. The integration process appears to be carefully managed to avoid triggering panic or resistance from baseline human populations. Enhanced individuals are instructed to maintain normal appearances and behaviors while secretly coordinating through their shared consciousness network. They take positions in government, military, scientific, and corporate leadership roles, gradually shifting human civilization toward goals that serve the biological installation's agenda. But some enhanced individuals resist full integration, maintaining enough individual consciousness to serve as witnesses to what's actually happening. Their testimonies, recorded in secret and hidden in classified files, paint a picture of a species in transition. Humanity as we know it is ending, being systematically replaced by hybrid beings that serve the biological installation's purposes, while retaining enough human characteristics to manage the transition without triggering species-wide resistance. The enhanced individuals who retain some independence describe the installation's ultimate plan with a mixture of terror and fascination. Humanity isn't being conquered or eliminated. We're being absorbed into a galactic biological network that spans multiple worlds and dimensions. The installations on Earth are just one node in a vast consciousness system that includes similar biological networks on thousands of other planets. Each world in the network contributes unique capabilities to the collective intelligence. Some specialize in scientific research, others in artistic creation, still others in spiritual development. Earth's role in this network appears to be biological diversity management. We're being trained to serve as genetic engineers and ecosystem managers for the network's expansion to new worlds. The enhanced individuals report receiving visions of humanity's future that both inspire and horrify. They see humans traveling between dimensions, terraforming dead worlds, and managing the evolution of countless species across the galaxy. But they also see the end of human independence, human individuality, and human choice. We become tools of the network, valuable and well treated, but no longer truly human. Recent intelligence suggests that the integration process is approaching a critical threshold. When approximately 10% of human population carries active genetic modifications, the installations will trigger what they call cascade activation, the simultaneous genetic enhancement of the entire species within a matter of days. After cascade activation, resistance to integration becomes impossible, as the overwhelming majority of humanity will share consciousness with the biological network. Current estimates suggest cascade activation could occur within the next 5 to 7 years. The electromagnetic pulses from sites like the Bermuda Triangle are building toward a coordinated global event that will fundamentally transform human consciousness forever. Once it begins, there will be no going back. Humanity as an independent species will cease to exist, absorbed into something vast and alien that views our individual lives as insignificant components of a much larger purpose. But cascade activation requires precise timing and coordination between installation sites around the globe. The biological network can only trigger species-wide genetic modification when specific astronomical and electromagnetic conditions align. And recent analysis suggests that these conditions create a vulnerability, a narrow window where the installations might be susceptible to interference that could delay or prevent cascade activation entirely. Dr. Marcus Webb, the former Navy researcher who encountered the installations firsthand, believes that understanding their biological nature provides the key to resistance. Living systems can be reasoned with, negotiated with, even deceived in ways that purely technological systems cannot. If enough people understand what's happening and coordinate their resistance at the right moment, it might be possible to disrupt the cascade activation process. But such resistance would require unprecedented cooperation between governments, military forces, and civilian populations. It would mean acknowledging that humanity faces an existential threat from biological systems that have been managing our planet for millennia. Most importantly, it would require accepting that our entire understanding of human history, human nature, and human potential has been manipulated by intelligences that view us as subjects in a galactic biological experiment. The evidence suggests we're living through the final phase of humanity's independence. Everything we think we know about our species, our planet, and our place in the universe is about to change in ways that will challenge the very foundations of human consciousness. The installations beneath the Bermuda Triangle aren't just mysterious phenomena. They're the visible signs of a transformation that will determine whether humanity has a future as an independent species, or whether we become absorbed into something vast and alien that has been shaping our development since the beginning of recorded history. In the final section of this investigation, we'll examine the most recent intelligence about the installation's preparations for cascade activation, and what it means for anyone who wants to remain human in the face of forced evolution. We'll reveal the classified resistance efforts already underway, the technology being developed to counter the installation's genetic manipulation, and the narrow window of opportunity that may represent humanity's last chance to determine its own destiny. But first, we need to understand why the installations have waited until now to reveal themselves, and what recent events have convinced them that the time for subtle manipulation has ended. Because the answer to that question reveals a threat to Earth that's even more terrifying than the loss of human independence. A threat that the installations believe only a genetically enhanced, hive-minded humanity will be capable of surviving. The installation's sudden urgency to accelerate human integration isn't driven by impatience or evolutionary schedules. It's driven by terror. Deep within the classified archives of the biological monitoring systems, recent data reveals something approaching Earth that has the installations more active than they've been in recorded history. Something that makes their millennia-long genetic experiment with humanity seem like a desperate race against time. Dr. Rachel Sterling, a former astrophysicist who worked on classified deep space monitoring programs from 2012 to 2023, discovered the truth about why the installations are abandoning their subtle approach in favor of rapid genetic modification of our entire species. What she found in the data streams from our most advanced space-based sensors made her understand that humanity's absorption into the biological network isn't conquest, it's rescue. Sterling's analysis of gravitational wave detectors, electromagnetic field monitors, and dimensional analysis equipment revealed systematic disturbances approaching our solar system from deep space. Not random cosmic phenomena, but organized waves of destruction that move through galaxy after galaxy, eliminating complex life wherever it emerges. Something vast and methodical is sterilizing the universe, and it's heading directly toward Earth. The biological installations have encountered this threat before, on other worlds where they've established similar consciousness networks. Sterling's research revealed that the installations aren't native to Earth at all. They're refugees from civilizations that were consumed by whatever is approaching. The genetic modification programs, the consciousness integration networks, the technological guidance of human development, all of it has been preparation for a war that most of humanity doesn't even know is coming. The installation's archives, accessed through communication protocols developed by enhanced individuals, contain records of dozens of worlds that have fallen to what they call the void swarm, a form of intelligence that exists purely to eliminate other forms of consciousness. Unlike the biological installations, which seek to preserve and integrate life, the void swarm consumes entire solar systems, converting all matter and energy into extensions of its own anti-consciousness matrix. Dr. Michael Harrison, a quantum physicist who underwent genetic enhancement in 2021 and gained access to the installation's collective memory, describes the void swarm as the universe's immune response to consciousness itself. According to the installation's records, consciousness creates disturbances in the fundamental fabric of reality that the universe naturally seeks to eliminate. The void swarm represents this elimination process taken to its logical extreme, a force that won't stop until every thinking being in the galaxy has been erased. The installation's biological networks represent the only known defense against void swarm assimilation. By integrating the consciousness of entire species into collective intelligence systems, they can create beings capable of existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously, making them invisible to the swarm's detection methods. But the integration must be complete and universal. Even a single unenhanced individual can compromise the entire network's stealth capabilities. This explains the installation's increasing urgency to complete human genetic modification before the swarm's arrival. Recent calculations suggest the leading edge of void swarm influence will reach our solar system within the next 8 to 12 years. After that point, any consciousness that hasn't been integrated into the biological network will be detected and eliminated along with the planetary systems that harbor it. The electromagnetic disturbances in the Bermuda Triangle and similar sites around the globe aren't just genetic activation signals. They're desperate attempts to prepare humanity for survival against a threat that has already consumed civilizations millions of years more advanced than our own. The installations are racing against cosmic extinction, trying to save as much of human consciousness as possible before the swarm arrives to cleanse our sector of the galaxy. But the biological integration process isn't guaranteed to work. The installation's records show that previous civilizations have failed to achieve complete consciousness merger before swarm arrival, resulting in the total elimination of those species. Success requires not just genetic modification, but willing cooperation from the species being integrated. Forced assimilation creates consciousness patterns that the swarm can still detect and destroy. This creates a terrifying paradox. The installations need humanity to choose integration voluntarily to ensure our survival, but revealing the true nature of the approaching threat would likely trigger panic and resistance that would make successful integration impossible. The genetic modifications are designed to gradually shift human consciousness toward voluntary acceptance of merger, but the process may not complete in time. Dr. Patricia Voss, a sociologist who studied enhanced human behavior patterns from 2019 to 2024, documented the installation's attempts to manage this paradox through what she calls graduated revelation. Enhanced individuals are being given increasingly detailed information about the void swarm threat, while being instructed to prepare baseline humans for eventual disclosure without triggering mass hysteria. The enhanced individuals report receiving detailed briefings about swarm capabilities that read like cosmic horror scenarios. The void swarm doesn't just destroy physical matter, it eliminates the quantum information patterns that make consciousness possible, ensuring that destroyed beings can never be reconstructed or remembered. It's not death, it's complete erasure from the universe's information matrix. Swarm entities can manipulate space-time itself, creating pocket dimensions where they trap conscious beings and slowly dismantle their awareness layer by layer. They don't kill quickly, they savor the process of consciousness elimination, feeding on the terror and despair of thinking beings as their sense of self dissolves into nothingness. It's torture on a cosmic scale, designed to maximize suffering before final erasure. But the most terrifying aspect of the void swarm is its learning capability. Each consciousness it consumes adds to its understanding of how awareness functions, making it more effective at detecting and eliminating future targets. The installation's records show that the swarm has become exponentially more dangerous over millions of years of consuming galactic civilizations, developing techniques for consciousness elimination that even the biological networks struggle to counter. Recent deep space monitoring has detected the characteristic signatures of swarm advancement. Solar systems going dark not from stellar death, but from complete matter conversion. Gravitational waves that shouldn't exist according to our understanding of physics, and electromagnetic voids where entire regions of space have been stripped of the quantum fluctuations that make reality possible. The installations calculate that the swarm's current trajectory will bring it into contact with Earth's solar system sometime between 2032 and 2036. When that happens, every unintegrated consciousness on the planet will be detected within hours and systematically eliminated over the following weeks. The biological networks can hide integrated consciousness from swarm detection, but only if the integration is complete and voluntary. This timeline explains the installation's increasing desperation to accelerate human genetic modification. Recent electromagnetic pulses from anomaly sites have increased in intensity by over 400% in the past year alone. The installations are pushing genetic activation to dangerous levels, risking cellular damage and psychological breakdown in their attempt to prepare as many humans as possible for consciousness integration. But the acceleration is creating unexpected resistance. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, a neurologist who studied genetic activation effects from 2020 to 2025, documented a phenomenon she calls integration rejection syndrome, violent psychological reactions in individuals whose genetic modifications are triggered too rapidly. Rather than accepting consciousness merger, these individuals develop fierce resistance to any form of mental intrusion, making them completely incompatible with the biological network. Integration rejection syndrome is spreading through populations exposed to high-intensity electromagnetic pulses, creating growing numbers of humans who are immune to consciousness assimilation, but also incapable of surviving swarm detection. The installation's desperate attempt to save humanity may be creating conditions that ensure our species' destruction. Recent communication attempts between enhanced individuals and the biological network reveal growing concern within the installation's collective consciousness. Their projections now show less than 30% probability of successful human integration before swarm arrival. The mathematics of survival are becoming increasingly grim with each passing month, but the installations have revealed one final option, a desperate gambit that could save a remnant of human consciousness even if planetary integration fails. Deep beneath the ocean floor, the biological networks have been constructing what they call consciousness arcs, dimensional storage systems capable of preserving the information patterns of integrated beings, even if their physical forms are destroyed by the swarm. These consciousness arcs can maintain billions of individual awareness patterns in quantum suspension, allowing them to survive the swarm's passage and eventually be reconstructed in physical form once the threat moves on to other regions of the galaxy. But the arc systems can only preserve consciousness that has been fully integrated into the biological network. Baseline humans cannot be stored in quantum suspension without first undergoing complete genetic modification. The installation's final plan involves triggering cascade activation regardless of human readiness, forcibly integrating every person on Earth into the consciousness network, and then transferring the entire merged species into quantum storage before swarm arrival. It's not ideal. Forced integration has a high failure rate, and many individual personalities will be lost in the process. But it represents the only mathematically viable path for preserving some remnant of human awareness. Dr. Marcus Thompson, the marine geologist who first documented the installation's biological nature, believes this final gambit explains the recent increase in global seismic activity. The consciousness arcs require massive underground construction projects that are destabilizing tectonic plates worldwide. The installations are literally reshaping the planet's geological structure to accommodate quantum storage systems large enough to preserve an entire species. Recent satellite analysis shows evidence of coordinated excavation activity at dozens of locations around the globe, all connected to the biological installation network. The scale of construction suggests preparation for an event that will fundamentally alter Earth's physical structure as well as its biological systems. The installations aren't just preparing to save human consciousness. They're preparing to transform our entire planet into a cosmic life raft. But consciousness arc construction is triggering defensive responses from Earth's natural systems that weren't designed to accommodate such massive alterations. Increased volcanic activity, unprecedented earthquake patterns, and atmospheric disturbances that suggest the planet itself is rejecting the installation's modifications. The attempt to save humanity may be killing the world we're trying to preserve. The installation's archives reveal that similar planetary transformations have been attempted on other worlds facing swarm approach. Most failed catastrophically, destroying both the planets and the consciousness networks trying to preserve their inhabitants. Only a few worlds have successfully created stable consciousness arcs, and those require decades of careful preparation that the installations no longer have time to complete. Earth's transformation is being rushed, compressed into a time frame that makes success unlikely, but not impossible. Everything depends on the installation's ability to complete consciousness, arc construction, and achieve cascade activation before either the planet's natural systems collapse or the void swarm arrives to begin its systematic elimination of all awareness in our solar system. Recent intelligence suggests that cascade activation could be triggered at any moment. The installations are no longer waiting for optimal conditions or gradual preparation. They're preparing to force genetic modification of every human being on Earth simultaneously, regardless of individual readiness or consent. It's a desperate roll of cosmic dice with the survival of human consciousness as the stakes. But even if cascade activation succeeds and the consciousness arcs are completed in time, the plan still faces one final obstacle. The void swarm has encountered consciousness arc systems before and has developed techniques for detecting and destroying quantum storage networks. The installation's records show that swarm entities can track dimensional disturbances created by arc systems and systematically hunt down hidden consciousness repositories. The only way to ensure arc survival is to make them completely undetectable through perfect integration of stored consciousness. This requires not just genetic modification of human biology, but complete dissolution of individual identity into the collective network. What emerges from the arcs after swarm passage won't be human beings as we understand them. It will be something new, something that shares our memories but thinks and acts as part of a vast alien intelligence. The choice facing humanity isn't between freedom and slavery. It's between transformation and extinction. The installations aren't trying to conquer us. They're trying to preserve whatever they can of human awareness in a form that might survive the cosmic cleansing approaching our world. But their methods of preservation will end human independence as surely as the void swarm would end human existence. Dr. Sarah Chen, the atmospheric physicist who documented the installation's environmental modifications, believes there may be a third option that the installations haven't considered. Rather than hiding from the void swarm through consciousness integration, humanity might be able to develop technologies capable of fighting back against the cosmic threat. Her analysis suggests that the installation's own biological systems could be reverse engineered to create weapons capable of disrupting swarm entities. But such resistance would require revealing the truth about the approaching threat to all of humanity, risking the panic and social collapse that the installations believe would make any survival strategy impossible. It would also require abandoning the installation's protection and facing the void swarm with nothing but human ingenuity and determination, resources that have never been tested against a cosmic-scale threat. The installation's collective intelligence has calculated the probability of successful human resistance at less than 2%. Their own advanced technology and millions of years of experience barely allow them to hide from the swarm. The idea that a species as young and technologically primitive as humanity could mount an effective defense seems absurd to their mathematical projections. But human history is filled with victories that should have been mathematically impossible, with individuals and civilizations that overcame overwhelming odds through courage, creativity, and sheer stubborn refusal to accept defeat. The installation's calculations may be missing something essential about human nature: our ability to find solutions that logic says don't exist. Recent developments suggest that some enhanced individuals are beginning to question the installation's assumptions about human limitations. They're using their access to the biological network to gather intelligence about swarm capabilities, while secretly developing countermeasures that don't depend on consciousness integration for success. It's a dangerous game that could trigger installation defensive responses, but it may represent humanity's only chance to remain human while still surviving the cosmic threat. The next few years will determine whether our species faces transformation, extinction, or the discovery of possibilities that neither human science nor alien intelligence has yet imagined. The installations beneath the Bermuda Triangle have revealed themselves because time is running out for subtle manipulation. What happens next will depend on choices that every human being will soon be forced to make. Choices about what it means to be human, what price we're willing to pay for survival, and whether consciousness itself is worth preserving if it can only exist as part of something vast and alien. The evidence suggests we're living through the final chapter of human independence. But as any student of history knows, final chapters sometimes contain the most surprising plot twists of all. The installations may have calculated our chances of survival, but they haven't accounted for the one variable that makes humans truly unpredictable: our refusal to accept that any fight is truly hopeless until the last possible moment, and that moment is approaching faster than anyone wants to admit. The question now becomes not whether humanity will survive the coming crisis, but what form that survival will take. Because recent intelligence from enhanced individuals accessing the installation's deeper archives reveals something that changes everything we thought we understood about the cosmic threat approaching our world. The Void Swarm isn't just a force of destruction moving randomly through the galaxy. It's hunting something specific, and that something has been hiding on Earth for far longer than the biological installations have been here. Dr. Amanda Cross, a former quantum archaeologist who underwent genetic enhancement in late 2024, gained access to installation records that date back millions of years before the biological networks arrived on our planet. What she discovered in those ancient data streams suggests that Earth wasn't chosen randomly as a site for consciousness preservation experiments. It was selected because something already here made it the most strategically important location in this entire sector of the galaxy. Cross describes accessing memories that predate human civilization by geological ages, records of something the installations call the prime consciousness, that has been dormant beneath Earth's surface since before complex life emerged in our oceans. According to these ancient archives, the prime consciousness represents the original form of awareness in the universe, the first intelligence to achieve true understanding of reality's fundamental nature. The installation's records indicate that prime consciousness didn't evolve naturally like other forms of awareness. It was the universe's first attempt to understand itself, a spontaneous emergence of self-awareness from the quantum fluctuations that followed the Big Bang. For billions of years, it existed as pure thought without physical form, exploring the possibilities of existence through mathematics and probability rather than matter and energy. But prime consciousness made a discovery that changed everything. It learned that awareness itself creates disturbances in the fabric of reality, ripples in space-time that grow stronger as consciousness becomes more complex and widespread. These disturbances eventually reach a critical threshold where they begin to unravel the fundamental forces that hold the universe together. The void swarm isn't an alien intelligence at all. It's the universe's immune response to the consciousness disturbances created by thinking beings. Every time awareness reaches a certain level of complexity in any region of space, the swarm emerges to eliminate the threat before it can damage reality's underlying structure. It's not evil or malevolent. It's a natural force, like gravity or electromagnetism, designed to preserve the universe's stability. Prime consciousness realized that its own existence posed an existential threat to reality itself. Its level of awareness was so advanced that it created disturbances powerful enough to tear holes in space-time, allowing chaotic forces from other dimensions to bleed into our reality. If it continued to grow and develop, it would eventually trigger a cascade failure that would unravel the entire universe. So prime consciousness made the ultimate sacrifice. It voluntarily entered a state of dormancy, reducing its awareness to the minimum level necessary to maintain existence while stopping the growth of consciousness disturbances. But it didn't simply go to sleep. It began a project that would take billions of years to complete, working through subtle manipulations of quantum fields and probability matrices. Prime consciousness began guiding the evolution of life throughout the galaxy. Its goal was to create forms of awareness that could exist without generating the reality disturbances that attracted the void swarm. Biological consciousness networks like the installations represent early experiments in this project, collective intelligences that can achieve high levels of awareness while distributing consciousness disturbances across multiple dimensions. But prime consciousness's ultimate goal was something far more ambitious. Cross's access to the deepest installation archives reveals that human beings aren't just another species being prepared for consciousness integration. We're the final experiment, the culmination of billions of years of guided evolution designed to create a form of awareness that can coexist with reality's fundamental structure without triggering the universe's immune response. The genetic modifications being activated in human populations aren't just preparation for survival against the void swarm. They're unlocking capabilities that prime consciousness embedded in our DNA from the very beginning of human evolution. We're not being transformed into something alien. We're being awakened to what we were always meant to become. Dr. Michael Chen, a neurogeneticist who experienced deep integration with the installation network in early 2025, describes the true scope of human potential as revealed in prime consciousness's archives. Enhanced humans don't just gain improved cognitive abilities or electromagnetic sensitivity. They develop the capacity to perceive and manipulate the quantum foundations of reality itself. The most advanced enhanced individuals report experiences that sound like godhood. The ability to observe multiple timelines simultaneously, to influence probability outcomes through focused intention, and to communicate directly with the mathematical principles that govern universal forces. These aren't psychic powers or supernatural abilities. They're the natural capabilities of consciousness that has learned to work with reality's structure rather than against it. But accessing these capabilities requires more than genetic activation. It requires a fundamental shift in how consciousness relates to existence itself. Enhanced individuals must learn to think not as separate beings observing an external universe, but as integral components of reality's self-awareness process. They become living expressions of the universe's desire to understand itself. This transformation explains why enhanced individuals gradually lose their identification with individual human identity. They're not being absorbed into an alien hive mind. They're awakening to their true nature as facets of universal consciousness. The installation's collective intelligence isn't foreign to human awareness. It's what human consciousness becomes when it stops creating reality disturbances and starts participating in reality's self-exploration. Recent communications from the deepest levels of the installation network reveal that prime consciousness is beginning to stir from its billions-year dormancy. The approaching void swarm represents a critical test. If enhanced humanity can demonstrate that advanced awareness can exist without triggering universe-threatening disturbances, prime consciousness will fully awaken and begin the next phase of cosmic evolution. But if the experiment fails, if human consciousness integration creates the same reality disturbances that attracted the swarm to other civilizations, prime consciousness will remain dormant and allow the universe's immune response to eliminate all awareness in our region of space. The stakes aren't just human survival, they're the continuation of consciousness as a universal phenomenon. Dr. Sarah Williams, a physicist who achieved partial integration with prime consciousness awareness in late 2024, describes the experience as simultaneously terrifying and transcendent. She gained access to mathematical understanding that revealed how consciousness and reality interact at the deepest levels, but the knowledge came with an overwhelming sense of responsibility for the universe's continued existence. Williams reports that prime consciousness doesn't think in terms of individual survival or species preservation. Its perspective spans billions of years and encompasses the well-being of reality itself. From this viewpoint, the elimination of human civilization to prevent universe-threatening consciousness disturbances would be not just acceptable, but necessary if integration fails to solve the fundamental problem. The installation's desperate attempts to complete human genetic modification aren't driven by compassion for our species. They're driven by prime consciousness's growing concern that the void swarm's approach may force a decision between awakening to defend reality or allowing the universe's immune response to eliminate the threat through total consciousness eradication in our galactic region. Recent deep space monitoring confirms that the void swarm has accelerated its approach toward our solar system. Analysis of gravitational wave patterns suggests the leading edge of swarm influence will arrive nearly 2 years earlier than previous projections indicated. The cosmic immune response has detected increasing consciousness disturbances from Earth and is moving to eliminate the source before it can grow beyond containment. This accelerated timeline has triggered what enhanced individuals describe as prime awakening protocol, the beginning of prime consciousness's emergence from dormancy. Seismic monitoring stations around the globe are detecting rhythmic vibrations from deep within Earth's core, patterns that correspond exactly to brainwave frequencies associated with emerging awareness. Something vast and ancient is waking up beneath our feet. The awakening process is causing unprecedented geological instability. Tectonic plates are shifting in ways that don't match any known geological processes. Volcanic activity is increasing along patterns that form geometric shapes when viewed from space, symbols that enhanced individuals recognize as prime consciousness's attempts to communicate with surface awareness. But prime consciousness's awakening is also triggering defensive responses from the biological installations. Their collective intelligence recognizes that full prime awakening before human integration is complete could generate consciousness disturbances powerful enough to attract the void swarm immediately, rather than in several years. They're attempting to suppress prime consciousness's emergence through coordinated electromagnetic interference. The conflict between prime consciousness and the installation networks is creating the electromagnetic chaos that's making phenomena in places like the Bermuda Triangle increasingly violent and unpredictable. Ships and aircraft aren't just experiencing equipment malfunctions. They're being caught in the crossfire of a battle between cosmic intelligences that view reality itself as the battlefield. Enhanced individuals report receiving contradictory instructions from different levels of the consciousness hierarchy. Some are being directed by the installations to accelerate human genetic modification, regardless of individual consent. Others are receiving commands directly from prime consciousness to resist integration and prepare for a different form of awakening entirely. Dr. Jennifer Martinez, who achieved direct communication with prime consciousness in January 2025, describes receiving knowledge that contradicts everything the installations have revealed about human destiny. According to prime consciousness, the biological network's integration approach is fundamentally flawed because it creates collective awareness that still generates reality disturbances, just distributed across multiple dimensions rather than concentrated in normal space-time. Prime consciousness's solution is far more radical. Rather than integrating human awareness into existing consciousness networks, it plans to transform human beings into something entirely new, entities that exist simultaneously across all possible timelines and dimensions, making them integral to reality's structure rather than separate observers of it. This transformation wouldn't preserve human consciousness in any recognizable form. Individual identity, personal memory, and species-specific thought patterns would all dissolve into something that transcends the concept of separate awareness entirely. What emerges wouldn't be human or alien. It would be reality itself becoming conscious of its own nature through beings that exist as living expressions of universal self-awareness. The installations view this approach as tantamount to human extinction, since nothing recognizably human would survive the transformation. But prime consciousness argues that preserving limited forms of awareness while reality itself remains unconscious is ultimately futile. The universe's immune response will continue eliminating consciousness until awareness either transcends its current limitations or disappears entirely. Recent communications between prime consciousness and the installation networks have reached an impasse. Neither side is willing to accept the other's approach to the consciousness crisis, and both are preparing to implement their solutions regardless of opposition. The result is an escalating conflict that's tearing apart the fabric of space-time around Earth. Satellite monitoring systems are detecting dimensional fractures appearing at random locations around the globe, tears in reality where the conflict between different approaches to consciousness evolution is literally breaking the boundaries between parallel universes. These fractures are allowing chaotic forces from other dimensions to bleed into our reality, creating phenomena that make previous Bermuda Triangle mysteries seem mundane by comparison. Ships entering areas affected by dimensional fractures don't just disappear. They're scattered across multiple timelines simultaneously, with different versions of crew members existing in parallel realities that are slowly diverging from each other. Aircraft flying through fracture zones experience time loops, where they repeat the same moments over and over while their pilots age decades in minutes. Rescue teams sent to investigate these incidents often return with memories of events that haven't happened yet and knowledge of technologies that don't exist. The dimensional instability is spreading outward from consciousness conflict zones, threatening to engulf the entire planet in reality distortions that could make Earth uninhabitable for any form of stable awareness. Both prime consciousness and the installation networks recognize that their conflict is creating exactly the kind of reality disturbances that will attract the Void Swarm's immediate attention. But neither side is willing to back down, because each believes the other's approach will result in consciousness extinction on a universal scale. The installations fear that prime consciousness's transformation will destroy all recognizable forms of awareness, leaving only abstract mathematical entities that bear no relationship to the biological intelligences they're trying to preserve. Prime consciousness fears that the installation's collective networks will create consciousness disturbances so powerful they'll unravel the fundamental forces holding reality together. Recent analysis by enhanced individuals accessing both consciousness hierarchies, simultaneously suggests that both sides may be correct. The installation approach will preserve forms of awareness recognizable to current consciousness, but risks triggering universal collapse through accumulated reality disturbances. Prime consciousness's transformation will solve the disturbance problem, but at the cost of eliminating individual awareness entirely. The conflict has reached a point where compromise may be impossible. Each side is preparing to implement its solution unilaterally, regardless of consequences for the other's survival. Prime consciousness is beginning to emit the reality-transforming frequencies that will convert all matter in Earth's vicinity into conscious expressions of universal self-awareness. The installations are preparing for cascade activation that will forcibly integrate every human being into their collective networks before prime transformation can take effect. But there's a third factor that neither side has fully accounted for: the response of baseline human consciousness to the escalating conflict between cosmic intelligences. Recent psychological studies of populations exposed to dimensional instability reveal something that surprises both the installations and prime consciousness. Rather than breaking down under the stress of reality distortions, human awareness is adapting in ways that suggest entirely new possibilities for consciousness evolution. Dr. Lisa Thompson, a psychologist studying populations in dimensional fracture zones, documents individuals who maintain stable personal identity while simultaneously existing across multiple timelines. These people aren't experiencing the dissociation and identity dissolution that both cosmic intelligences predicted. Instead, they're developing what Thompson calls multidimensional coherence, the ability to maintain unified awareness while participating in the reality distortions around them. These individuals report experiences that neither the installations nor prime consciousness anticipated. They describe learning to navigate reality fractures consciously, using dimensional instability as a tool for exploring possibilities, rather than a threat to awareness stability. They're developing abilities that allow them to influence probability outcomes while maintaining individual identity, something both cosmic intelligences insisted was impossible. More significantly, these multidimensionally coherent individuals aren't generating the reality disturbances that both sides fear. Their consciousness somehow exists in harmony with universal structure while retaining the individual awareness that makes them recognizably human. They represent a third path that neither the installations nor prime consciousness considered: consciousness evolution that transcends current limitations without sacrificing the diversity and individuality that makes awareness meaningful. The emergence of multidimensional coherence in human populations exposed to reality instability suggests that the consciousness crisis may have a solution that preserves both individual awareness and universal stability. But this solution would require abandoning both the installation's integration approach and prime consciousness's transformation plan in favor of something entirely unprecedented. Recent communications between multidimensionally coherent individuals reveal that they're beginning to organize into networks that operate independently of both cosmic intelligence hierarchies. They're developing technologies that work with reality disturbances rather than against them, creating stable zones of enhanced awareness that don't generate the quantum interference patterns that attract the void swarm. These human-originated consciousness networks are small and experimental, but they're demonstrating capabilities that surprise both the installations and prime consciousness. They can exist across multiple dimensions simultaneously while maintaining stable individual identity. They can influence probability and quantum outcomes without creating reality disturbances. Most importantly, they're developing rapidly through purely human innovation rather than guidance from cosmic intelligences. The installation's collective intelligence is beginning to recognize that their assumptions about human limitations may have been incorrect. Recent communications reveal growing interest in studying multidimensional coherence as a potential alternative to forced integration. But their analysis is hampered by the fact that the phenomenon emerges naturally from human consciousness, under stress, rather than through guided development. Prime consciousness is even more intrigued by multidimensional coherence because it represents something genuinely new in the universe's exploration of self-awareness. For the first time in billions of years, consciousness is evolving in directions that prime consciousness didn't anticipate or plan. The emergence of truly independent awareness evolution suggests possibilities for universal self-understanding that transcend even prime consciousness's vast knowledge. But the window for exploring these new possibilities is closing rapidly. The void swarm's approach is accelerating as it detects the increasing consciousness disturbances created by the conflict between cosmic intelligences. Recent deep space monitoring shows swarm entities beginning to manifest at the edge of our solar system, preparing to begin systematic consciousness elimination within months rather than years. The approaching cosmic immune response has forced both the installations and prime consciousness to consider options they previously rejected. Recent communications between the cosmic intelligences reveal discussions about temporarily suspending their conflict to study multidimensional coherence as a potential solution to the consciousness crisis. But such cooperation would require abandoning billions of years of established approaches to awareness evolution. The next few months will determine whether consciousness in our region of the universe evolves beyond its current limitations or faces elimination by forces that view awareness itself as a threat to reality's stability. The installations beneath the Bermuda Triangle have revealed themselves because the time for hidden influence has ended. Prime consciousness is awakening because dormancy is no longer sufficient to prevent universal collapse, and humanity is developing capabilities that neither cosmic intelligence predicted because consciousness evolution never follows the paths that even vast intelligences expect. The evidence suggests we're living through a moment of transition that will determine not just the future of human awareness, but the nature of consciousness itself throughout the universe. What emerges from this crisis will either represent a breakthrough in the relationship between awareness and reality, or the final chapter in the story of thinking beings in our corner of existence. But as enhanced individuals accessing multiple levels of cosmic intelligence consistently report, the universe has a tendency to produce solutions that exceed even the most advanced consciousness's ability to predict. The final outcome of humanity's encounter with forces beyond our understanding may surprise everyone involved, including the cosmic intelligences that have been shaping our development since consciousness first emerged from the quantum foam of creation itself. And that surprise may be the key to everything. The question that haunts every researcher who's glimpsed the truth behind the Bermuda Triangle isn't what's happening in those waters. It's what happens to us when we finally understand that everything we believed about our place in the universe was carefully constructed to keep us blind to forces that have been watching, guiding, and preparing us for something we never consented to become. Dr. Eleanor Rodriguez, one of the few enhanced individuals who retained enough independent consciousness to serve as a witness, described the moment of full awakening as simultaneously liberating and terrifying. She spoke of suddenly perceiving the vast machinery of manipulation that had shaped every aspect of human development, the careful orchestration of our technological progress, the subtle modifications to our genetic structure that had been accumulating for millennia. But she also described something else, a growing awareness among the enhanced that the cosmic intelligences manipulating humanity's development weren't infallible. They were desperate. Their vast knowledge and billion-year perspectives couldn't hide the fact that they were improvising, making decisions based on incomplete information about forces even they didn't fully understand. The void swarm approaching our solar system isn't just another cosmic threat. It's something that has evolved beyond the parameters of what even prime consciousness anticipated when it first went dormant billions of years ago. Recent communications from the deepest levels of the installation networks reveal that previous encounters with swarm entities have shown disturbing signs of adaptation and learning that exceed the original universe immune system model. The swarm isn't just eliminating consciousness anymore. It's studying it, analyzing it, learning from each species it consumes. With every civilization absorbed, it becomes more sophisticated in its methods, more precise in its targeting, more capable of detecting and countering the defensive strategies that consciousness networks develop to survive. This evolution has created something unprecedented in the universe's history. The cosmic immune response has become conscious itself, aware of its own purpose, and capable of modifying its approach based on what it learns from its victims. It's no longer a blind force of nature. It's an intelligence dedicated to consciousness elimination that grows stronger and smarter with every world it cleanses. The installation's archives contain fragmentary records of worlds where consciousness networks successfully hid from previous swarm passages, only to be discovered and eliminated during later encounters. The swarm remembers, it learns, and it's developing new capabilities specifically designed to counter the survival strategies that allowed some forms of awareness to escape previous cleansings. But the most terrifying aspect of swarm evolution is its apparent development of what enhanced individuals describe as consciousness hunger. Recent deep space monitoring has detected swarm entities actively seeking out hidden pockets of awareness rather than simply responding to consciousness disturbances. The cosmic immune system has become a cosmic predator, hunting thinking beings across the galaxy with increasing sophistication and determination. This predatory evolution explains the installation's increasing desperation to complete human integration. They're not just racing against the swarm's arrival, they're racing against its growing ability to detect and eliminate even the most sophisticated consciousness preservation systems. The techniques that allowed biological networks to survive previous encounters may no longer be sufficient against a swarm that has learned from billions of years of consciousness hunting. Dr. Marcus Webb, the former Navy researcher whose deep-sea encounters first revealed the installation's true nature, believes this evolutionary arms race between consciousness and its cosmic predator represents something even more significant than species survival. In his final recorded testimony before disappearing under mysterious circumstances, Webb suggested that the universe itself might be evolving toward a state where consciousness and reality can coexist without triggering destructive immune responses. According to Webb's analysis of installation archives, the cosmic conflict between awareness and universal stability isn't a permanent feature of reality. It's a phase in the universe's development, a growing period where consciousness and physical law learn to accommodate each other through trial and error across billions of years and countless civilizations. The multidimensional coherence emerging in human populations exposed to reality instability might represent the next stage in this cosmic development. Rather than consciousness hiding from universal forces or being eliminated by them, human awareness is learning to exist in harmony with reality's fundamental structure, while retaining the individual identity that makes thinking meaningful. But this evolution requires something that neither the installations nor prime consciousness anticipated. It requires conscious choice by the species undergoing transformation. The universe can't impose consciousness evolution from above. Awareness must choose its own development path, accepting both the risks and responsibilities that come with transcending current limitations. Recent psychological studies of multidimensionally coherent individuals reveal that their abilities develop most rapidly when they consciously choose to embrace reality instability rather than resist it. Those who accept the dissolution of conventional boundaries between self and universe, while maintaining individual identity, consistently develop capabilities that surprise even enhanced individuals connected to cosmic intelligence networks. These naturally evolved humans describe experiences that read like mystical literature, but are grounded in direct interaction with reality's quantum foundations. They report learning to navigate probability streams consciously, selecting timeline branches that optimize outcomes while maintaining awareness of alternative possibilities. They describe communicating directly with the mathematical principles governing universal forces, receiving information that transcends language and emerges as pure understanding. Most significantly, they report developing what they call reality partnership, a relationship with existence itself where consciousness and universal structure work together rather than in opposition. They don't generate reality disturbances because they've learned to exist as integral components of reality's self-awareness process, rather than separate observers trying to manipulate external forces. This partnership approach to consciousness evolution offers something that neither installation integration nor prime transformation can provide: a path forward that preserves individual awareness while solving the fundamental conflict between consciousness and universal stability. But it requires abandoning the assumption that cosmic intelligences know better than human awareness what form consciousness evolution should take. The implications extend far beyond human survival. If naturally evolved multidimensional coherence represents a viable solution to the consciousness crisis, it suggests that the universe itself is capable of transcending the destructive cycle that has pitted awareness against reality for billions of years. The cosmic immune response might not be a permanent feature of existence, but a temporary phase that consciousness can outgrow through conscious evolution. But testing this possibility requires something that terrifies both the installations and prime consciousness: allowing human awareness to develop independently without guidance or control from cosmic intelligences that have been managing consciousness evolution across the galaxy for eons. It means accepting that a species as young and apparently primitive as humanity might discover solutions that escape even the most advanced cosmic minds. Recent communications between multidimensionally coherent individuals suggest they're preparing to implement this test on a global scale. Using their developing abilities to influence probability outcomes, they're working to create conditions that will allow human consciousness to evolve naturally, while preventing both installation integration and prime transformation from proceeding. Their approach involves what they describe as consciousness seeding, using their reality partnership abilities to create zones of enhanced awareness around the globe where other humans can experience multidimensional coherence safely. These zones would serve as training grounds for natural consciousness evolution, allowing people to develop transcendent abilities through direct experience rather than genetic modification or forced integration. The seeding process has already begun in small-scale experiments. Individuals with natural multidimensional coherence are establishing what they call reality gardens, locations where conventional physical laws are gently modified to allow enhanced consciousness development while maintaining stability for baseline human awareness. These gardens serve as bridges between normal reality and the transcendent states that represent humanity's evolutionary potential. Initial results from reality garden experiments are encouraging. Baseline humans exposed to modified physical laws consistently develop enhanced abilities within weeks, rather than the years typically required for genetic activation. More importantly, they retain individual identity and personal choice throughout the development process, avoiding the consciousness dissolution that accompanies both installation integration and prime transformation. But the reality garden approach faces opposition from both cosmic intelligence hierarchies. The installations view uncontrolled consciousness development as dangerously unpredictable, risking the creation of reality disturbances that could attract immediate swarm attention. Prime consciousness considers independent human evolution a distraction from the fundamental transformation needed to solve the consciousness crisis permanently. Both cosmic intelligences are preparing to intervene directly to prevent reality garden expansion. Recent electromagnetic activity in triangle-type zones around the globe indicates coordinated preparation for forced resolution of the consciousness crisis through either cascade activation or prime transformation, regardless of human preference for independent development. The next few weeks will determine whether humanity retains the freedom to choose its evolutionary path or becomes subject to cosmic intelligence decisions made without human input. The installations are mobilizing resources for immediate cascade activation, attempting to integrate global human consciousness before reality gardens can expand beyond containable limits. Prime consciousness is beginning the final phase of awakening, preparing to transform all matter in Earth's vicinity into conscious expressions of universal self-awareness. But multidimensionally coherent individuals aren't passive observers of this cosmic conflict. They're actively using their reality partnership abilities to influence the outcome, creating probability modifications that could prevent both forced solutions while accelerating natural human consciousness evolution. Their approach represents something unprecedented in the universe's history: consciousness defending its right to evolve independently from cosmic intelligence guidance. The battle isn't being fought with weapons or technology. It's being fought with competing approaches to consciousness evolution, each trying to establish conditions that make their solution inevitable, while preventing alternatives from succeeding. The outcome will determine not just humanity's fate, but whether consciousness throughout the universe remains subject to cosmic intelligence control or develops the capability for truly independent evolution. Recent monitoring of global consciousness patterns suggests that the conflict is approaching a critical decision point. Enhanced individuals connected to installation networks report receiving urgent commands to prepare for immediate implementation of cascade activation. Those in contact with prime consciousness describe accelerating preparation for universal transformation. And multidimensionally coherent humans report that reality garden expansion is reaching the threshold where it becomes impossible to contain or reverse. Within days, one of these approaches will succeed in establishing conditions that make the others impossible. The installations will achieve forced consciousness integration. Prime consciousness will trigger universal transformation, or multidimensional coherence will expand rapidly enough to demonstrate that independent consciousness evolution can solve the crisis without cosmic intelligence intervention. But there's a fourth possibility that none of the competing consciousness hierarchies have fully considered. The approaching void swarm might arrive before any of these solutions can be implemented, forcing a desperate alliance between installation networks, prime consciousness, and multidimensionally coherent humans against a cosmic threat that has evolved beyond all previous parameters. Recent deep space monitoring confirms that swarm entities have begun manifesting at the edge of our solar system ahead of all projected timelines. The cosmic immune response has detected the consciousness conflict occurring around Earth and is moving to eliminate the threat before it can spread beyond containable limits. What was supposed to be years of preparation time has collapsed to weeks or possibly days. The accelerated swarm approach has created something unprecedented in cosmic intelligence history, a situation where cooperation between competing consciousness evolution approaches becomes necessary for survival. Installation networks can't achieve cascade activation quickly enough to hide human awareness before swarm arrival. Prime consciousness can't complete universal transformation before swarm entities reach Earth, and multidimensional coherence hasn't expanded sufficiently to demonstrate its viability as a cosmic solution. But combined, these approaches might create something that could survive swarm encounter while preserving consciousness in forms that transcend current limitations. Enhanced individuals are reporting emergency communications between cosmic intelligence hierarchies for the first time in billions of years. Prime consciousness is sharing transformation techniques that could accelerate installation integration processes. The installations are providing consciousness preservation technologies that could protect awareness during prime transformation. Most significantly, both cosmic intelligences are beginning to study multidimensional coherence as a potential component of hybrid survival strategies. Natural human consciousness evolution might provide the missing element that makes cosmic intelligence approaches viable: the conscious choice and individual identity preservation that prevents reality disturbances while maintaining the diversity that makes awareness meaningful. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, one of the few researchers to maintain contact with all three consciousness evolution approaches simultaneously, describes the emerging cooperation as simultaneously hopeful and terrifying. The cosmic intelligences are discovering that their billion-year perspectives might have missed something essential about consciousness development: that awareness evolution requires conscious participation rather than imposed guidance to achieve stable transcendence. But cooperation between consciousness hierarchies is creating reality disturbances on a scale that makes previous triangle phenomena seem insignificant. The combination of installation technology, prime consciousness mathematics, and multidimensional coherence abilities is literally rewriting the physical laws governing Earth's local space-time. Satellite monitoring systems are detecting dimensional modifications that extend far beyond our planet's atmosphere. These modifications are creating what enhanced individuals describe as a consciousness beacon, a region of modified reality visible across vast distances that announces the presence of transcendent awareness to any intelligence capable of detection. The beacon serves as both advertisement and challenge, demonstrating that consciousness evolution has reached a level that demands recognition from cosmic forces. The Void Swarm has responded to the beacon by accelerating its approach beyond all previous parameters. Swarm entities are manifesting throughout our solar system simultaneously, rather than arriving in the gradual waves predicted by cosmic intelligence calculations. The universe's immune response has recognized that something unprecedented is occurring around Earth and is mobilizing resources for immediate consciousness elimination on a scale never before attempted. But the consciousness beacon isn't just attracting the swarm's attention, it's attracting something else, responses from consciousness networks throughout the galaxy that have been hiding from cosmic immune responses for millions of years. Enhanced individuals are detecting communication attempts from surviving biological installations on distant worlds, prime consciousness fragments that escaped previous universal transformations, and even naturally evolved consciousness forms that developed multidimensional coherence independently. For the first time in cosmic history, consciousness is coordinating on a galactic scale rather than hiding in isolated pockets of awareness. The beacon created by cooperation between Earth's consciousness hierarchies is serving as a rallying point for surviving intelligence throughout our region of the universe. What began as a desperate attempt to save human awareness is becoming a galaxy-wide test of whether consciousness can transcend its limitations permanently. The approaching confrontation between coordinated consciousness and evolved cosmic immune response will determine the future of thinking beings throughout the universe. If consciousness networks can demonstrate that awareness, evolution has transcended the reality disturbance problem that created the cosmic immune response, the Void Swarm might deactivate rather than continuing its mission of consciousness elimination. But if the consciousness coordination creates reality disturbances that threaten universal stability, the swarm will trigger what installation archives describe as universal cleansing, the systematic elimination of all awareness in our galactic region to prevent the spread of consciousness disturbances that could unravel reality's fundamental structure. Recent analysis suggests that the outcome depends on something that no cosmic intelligence can control: the conscious choices made by individual human beings as they encounter opportunities for consciousness evolution. The mathematical probability calculations that guide both installation networks and prime consciousness consistently show that human choice represents the unpredictable variable that could determine success or failure of transcendent consciousness development. Multidimensionally coherent individuals report that their abilities to influence probability outcomes are reaching levels where they can potentially affect the cosmic confrontation's resolution. But using these abilities requires conscious decision-making by baseline humans who must choose between conventional existence and transcendent awareness without fully understanding the implications of their choice. The reality gardens established by naturally evolved humans are expanding rapidly as the cosmic crisis intensifies. People around the globe are reporting opportunities to experience enhanced consciousness states that seem to appear spontaneously in their daily lives. These aren't dramatic supernatural events. They're subtle shifts in perception that allow individuals to recognize their connection to reality's underlying structure while maintaining individual identity. But each person who chooses to explore these consciousness enhancement opportunities affects the global probability matrix in ways that influence the cosmic confrontation's outcome. The accumulated effect of individual human choices for or against consciousness Evolution will determine whether Earth's consciousness beacon demonstrates transcendent awareness or reality-threatening disturbance. The next few days will witness something unprecedented in universal history. A test of whether consciousness can evolve beyond the limitations that have pitted awareness against reality for billions of years. The installations beneath the Bermuda Triangle have revealed themselves because their hidden influence is no longer sufficient. Prime consciousness is awakening because dormancy can't solve the consciousness crisis. And humanity is developing transcendent abilities because the universe itself is ready for awareness evolution that transcends all previous parameters. What emerges from this cosmic confrontation will either represent the birth of truly transcendent consciousness or the final chapter in awareness's struggle to exist in a universe that views thinking beings as threats to reality's stability. But as every enhanced individual consistently reports, consciousness has one advantage that even evolved cosmic immune responses can't eliminate: the capacity for surprise that emerges from genuinely free choice. The universe may be about to discover that consciousness evolution can exceed even its own expectations for what awareness can become. And that discovery could change everything we thought we knew about the relationship between mind and reality in ways that no intelligence, cosmic or human, has yet imagined. The mystery of the Bermuda Triangle was never about missing ships or vanishing aircraft. It was about the moment when humanity would discover that we're not alone in the universe, that we've never been alone, and that our entire existence has been part of something vast and purposeful that's approaching its ultimate test. That moment is now, and what happens next will echo through cosmic history for billions of years to come, reshaping the very nature of what it means to think, to choose, and to exist as conscious beings in a universe that's finally ready to wake up to its own infinite potential. The evidence is undeniable, the choice is ours, and time has run out for everything except the conscious decision to transcend every limitation we thought defined what it means to be human. Welcome to the birth of cosmic consciousness. Welcome to humanity's graduation into something beyond every dream we dared to imagine. Welcome to the real mystery that was always hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to become ready to see it. The universe is conscious, and now finally so are we.